right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Menlo Park City Council meeting for August 6th, 2018. We're going to start with a study session before we do call our regular session to order. So we'll go right into the study session. What we're trying to do is to link in Council Member Catherine Carlton, who is traveling, but I think when she joins us, we may do a little recap, but I think we'd like to get started on the study session. So, Derek, come on up. This study session is on the Parks and Recreation Facilities Master Plan Update. Community Services Director Derek Schweigert will make a presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Otake, members of the City Council. I'm Derek Schweigert, Community Services Director. Tonight is an opportunity, tonight for the study session is our midpoint for the Parks and Rec Facilities Master Plan. And so tonight we have our consultant, Gates and Associates, that are going to be present. What we plan to do today is share with you some key findings, some emerging ideas that are coming out, and also, more importantly, get your feedback and input on the plan thus far. So introducing, I would like to just do some quick introductions. To my right is Gail Donaldson, and she is principal at Gates Associates. And also to her right is Mindy Craig from Blue Point Planning.
Welcome to you both.
Great. And then just quickly, I wanted to just introduce staff that are involved with this project. So behind me here is Recreation Supervisor Todd Zio and our project manager, Rita Shu, who's also been working on the plan. So tonight, before I turn it over to our consultants for the presentation, we want to just let everybody know that we will be available for some questions. And I understand there may be some public comment, but at the end, we have some questions at the end of the presentation that we want to direct your attention to with our hope to get your guidance and direction moving forward with the plan. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Gail.
Thank you, Mayor and Council members. Am I on? Okay. We're going to just barrel through the slides here because you have a very comprehensive and well-written staff report that contains a lot of the information in some of the slides. So I'm going to try to conserve our time since we have a limited time here. First, the purpose of the project. The last Parks and Recreation Facilities Master Plan that the city has is from 1999. So almost 20 years old now. It's time to update it. And we're trying to create a roadmap for the city's parks and recreation programming and facilities for the next 20 years. We know that there have been a lot of planning efforts that have gone on since the last Park and Recreation Facilities Master Plan, and there are concurrent planning efforts that are going on. And we know that we need to be compatible with all the efforts that are going on in the city and mesh with your plans and policies. So we have been looking at your general plan that has the standard of 5 acres of parks per 1,000 residents. We've been looking at the El Camino Downtown Specific Plan, which identifies locations for pocket parks and flexible spaces in your downtown area. Been looking at Connect Menlo and the general plan update, which identified priorities of the Belhaven community for facilities that they would like to see. Another couple of specifically focused plans that will be wrapped into the Park and Recreation Facility Master Plan. And there are other efforts, and also your sustainability plans. Those are very important. The Climate Action Plan and the Zero Waste Plan are really important to this one as well. We want them all to reinforce one another. We've also been coordinating with the Transportation Master Plan staff so that we can strengthen both of those plans so that transportation and access to parks work as well as they can, and some of the other plans and studies that are going on at this point. The first thing that we do in one of these processes is work up a needs assessment, and so that's the first thing we'll talk about this evening, what we've been doing in order to the elements that have gone into our needs assessment. And then we're going to present to you some preliminary visions and goals, what we've heard from the community, what we've synthesized from the needs assessment, and what direction we think that the plan should go. And this is what we're really looking for your feedback and input on. We've also identified a number of really preliminary opportunities where we think we can make the plan move forward, where we can set forth implementing actions and look at areas where things might be improved and where there are opportunities for expanding park and recreation. So what goes into the needs assessment? The key element that goes into the needs assessment is community input, and we'll go into that a little bit later. But the quality of facilities. We've done an inventory of your 14 parks and 10 facilities and looked at what shape they're in, whether they need updating, whether they're serving the needs that they were intended to serve to begin with. We look at a community profile, the demographics of your community. If you have an aging community, you're going to have different needs than a young family community that might need more active sports fields and things. We look at the trends, national trends, what's emerging across the country in the field of parks and recreation, new ideas about unique parks or sports that are coming up like pickleball, things like that. What's going on in the larger picture. And accessibility. Accessibility, not only can people get to parks, but once you get to a park, are there things that that can accommodate all ages, all abilities? So it's access in a number of different manners. And finally, we'll look at the acres per resident, which you have your standard in the general plan. And with that, you get to our needs assessment. So what we've done so far in this process, as Derek said, we're sort of at a halfway point. We've done the inventory and ongoing park assessments. And the reason I say that they're ongoing assessments is we keep getting feedback from the community, and that informs how we assess the parks, what people think about them, how they use them. We have looked at the demographics of Menlo Park, we've looked at the national trends, and we've looked at what other cities are doing. We have 6 comparable cities in the area that are comparable in demographics and in population size to see relatively how Menlo Park compares with those other communities in the neighboring areas. We have done a significant amount of community engagement, which again we'll get to, but first I wanted to just touch on the inventory. Looking at the 14 parks, 10 facilities, and your city standard, right now, when you consider, you have 232 acres of parks. When you consider Bayfront Bedwell Park, or Bedwell Bayfront, which is generally considered open space rather than a developed parkland in the traditional terms, you do have 7.1 acres of park per 1,000 residents, which really exceeds the standard that you set in the general plan. But the traditional way of counting park space is really counting developed parkland, things that have room for active sports, playgrounds, things like that, not just trails and viewpoints and that. So if we take out the 155 acres of Bedwell Bayfront, you're down to 2.3 acres. And in the future, looking at the ABAG population projections, it's going to be a similar situation probably for the next 20 years, that you'll be meeting the standards if we include the open space, but without the open space, you're a little bit lower than what you would want to be. You can't look at those statistics in a vacuum, though, because there are a lot of resources in the community that are used by city residents as recreation facilities. You have Flood Park, which is another 26 acres. We've got this map divided in two so that we could point out the areas a little bit more clearly. Flood Park, the county park, is something that can be used by the residents in the same way that the city parks are. There are a number of joint use agreements with schools so that allows people the recreational use of the sports fields after school hours, sports fields, sports courts, and playgrounds. And there's planned development and ongoing development, the Facebook plans, the downtown plan that identifies the pocket parks that are desired in downtown. And there's also a couple of really adjacent parks that are right on your city limits, the Holbrook Palmer Park and El Camino Park, and this is the southwestern part of the city. Yeah, I'm going to speed it up a little bit. So just showing how they're distributed. When we look at the other cities in the area, that one's a little bit hard to read on the big screen there, but Menlo Park has the 2.35 acres per 1,000, and the only other cities that we compared you with in the area that have more are Foster City and Saratoga, but the rest of the cities on that list have less park acreage than you do, so you're not in bad shape. Another way to look at it is access to parks, and this map is showing a 5-minute walk in the dark area. The darker circles around the park areas are a 5-minute walk for residents to get to a park, and the lighter ones are a 10-minute walk, which is a quarter mile, and that's a typical standard that's used. The red lines going across are showing that even though you may be within 10 minutes on a crow's as the crow flies, that there are barriers. There's the railroads, there's the freeway, there are major thoroughfares that are hard to cross, so there's different barriers to accessing the parks. And for that reason, we're working with the transportation group, and we're also looking at the distribution of parks and where opportunities might be to have other parks that would fill the gaps. We've done extensive community outreach. It was discussed quite well in the staff report. We have had, we have had over 1,081 people looking at our Facebook posts so far, so that's a big number. We've had 500 Project Frisbees that have been given out that have hashtags on them, websites on them that people have gotten at the public events. We've had email blasts, a lot of different ways we've reached out to the community. And the result of that is that we have had engagement with over 2,000 people. The staff and consultants have gone to the Easter egg hunts, they've gone to the concerts in the park and engaged people and asked for their opinions, asked for their input on the park system. We have had an online survey that closed on August 1st and had 500 responses. And we've really reached out as best we can. We've had focus groups with schools, with teens. We've really tried to get a broad swath of the community. And I'm going to hand it over to Mindy to talk about what we heard from the community and where we think we're going.
But before that, I'm just going to say that we are going to do another round of engagement with the community to get their feedback on what you're hearing tonight. So this is kind of the beginning of that next phase. And then there'll be a final, give us hopefully a thumbs up at the very end once we solidify that and really get our priorities straight. So what we've heard, one of the things that we've heard over and over again is the need to have one city. Right now we're chopped up, so how do we connect it better? How do we have more access and inclusivity across the thing? And so parks are really that, the weaving that pulls your city together, and we have an opportunity to do that here. Create unique and distinctive parks. How can we say that we're in Menlo Park? That we know we're in our neighborhood, that this is really ours. So that's a really important thing. We heard that over and over again. And then creating more social interaction, especially in the evening. Play and gathering spaces, not just for little kids, but for teenagers. How do they relax and get some space out there and be in nature? Creating inclusive places that, again, people want to go to. A lot of multi-generational parks is important. One of the things we heard, again, nature. We are sick of being in traffic. There's a lot of urbanization. So where can we find nature here in Menlo Park? So how can we create, as we're thinking about new parks, natural spaces, greening the downtown? Instead of a lot of hardscape, where can we put those green reliefs? While also understanding there's an economic force there, but these things can live together. Sustainability, more environmental education, especially at the Bedwell Bayfront Park. We want to have more rec program hours is what people told us. They want to see more dance. They want to see some health and fitness and wellness. A splash pad where people can run and play, especially in these hot days. Outdoor art, a lot of them about dog parks, an agility dog park, community gardens, and a pump track, although we're here that Flood Park actually might have a pump track, so we might be able to take that off our list. So the next section is about visions and goals. I think you have a handout, which is unusual, but I'm bringing this up because this is a 20-year plan. So we're going to talk about some of the recommendations that are rather specific, but really your visions and goals are what's going to guide your staff for the next 20 years to make decisions. So these are important for you to take note of. Does this make sense, and is this reflective of what you're doing? So we heard, again, I mentioned this, the nature, be creative, multi-generational, accessible. And so our vision that we've preliminarily come up with is connecting Menlo Park through a sustainable and accessible system of parks, recreation facilities, and programs that reflect the city's character and encourage multi-generation interactions. So that's an initial one. We're going to want to hear feedback from you and others on this. We've also created these goals, and there's 6 of them. I'm not going to go into the fine type here, just the highlights here. This idea of integrated, equitable, inclusive, we've heard that, and we think that's an important goal. Connected both socially but also physically, and accessible. We want to create a sense of place. We want something to say, hey, we're here and we enjoy this, and this is a place we want to go to. And it may not just be our neighborhood park. We want to be able to go throughout our city and feel that. We also know, based on, especially on our population, health and wellness is critical, and parks are an important element. It's sort of the what the doctor orders. and expanding those opportunities. How do we have more places, our parks? Parks can be everywhere. You're seeing parks on top of car parks, in utility right-of-ways, all over the place. And so we need to mine those locations in Menlo Park to create more opportunities. And finally, but not least, sustainable and integrated into the development and the management of our parks so that we're also good citizens. And we can teach through that sustainability our children how to be good stewards of the land as well. So what are some of the opportunities that we've identified so far? One is enhancing both Burgess and the Onetta Harris centers. There's different things, there are different levels of needs, but how do we better optimize the programming and the scheduling, particularly at Onetta Harris? There's a definite need for that. There has been interest in fitness centers, so those are with weightlifting and all the bicycles and the treadmills. We see here at Burgess Park, we have a lot of little buildings. How can we become more efficient in our operations to save money, but also to have better generation of revenue? Look at the library for the teen space potentially, update the landscape to be more sustainable, and look at the duck pond again in terms of sustainability and how it really works with the future. How can we update the pool equipment and maybe adding field lighting, not lightning. And the Onetta Harris campus, there's a lot of need for reconfiguring that, creating a welcoming place. It's sort of tucked back there. People don't know about it. So improving that wayfinding, access to the Kelly Park is really important. People want to know that it's not just about recreation. There's an educational value to this. And using it for citywide events so people from all over the city are there. And again, it creates that one city concept. And connections. While we're not doing the transportation or the bike ped plan, we see this as such an important element. How do kids get from one place to the other? We're having so many people going and trekking around to after-school sports that's creating more traffic. So this is an essential element of how we make the parks work better, how we make people happier and healthier is improving those connections. So we're really working hard, as Gail said, with transportation on this. Programs and policies, these are not the sexy things, but they may be really, really important to the city of Menlo Park. One of the things that came out is that we have different fee structures for Onetta and Burgess. And it was originally designed to create inclusivity, but what the actual thing has happened is that we can't get good programming at Onetta at the same level because of the way we contract out our staff. It kind of gets involved, and I don't have lots of time to go into it, but I can certainly answer questions. But really what the bottom line is, we need to create a new fee structure that's equitable across the board, that allows people to go to any facility within Menlo Park. If they need a scholarship or need reduced costs, we can do that, but we have even fees across the line. Increased flexibility in class delivery. Right now we have an old school model, which is a lot of Parks and Recreation do, which you have to sign up for a 5-week, 10-week class setup. Can we have more drop-in classes? Can we have membership cards? Can we create new ideas about how we want to actually deliver our parks? And again, helping to serve people, especially adults who have different schedules. They can't always guarantee going to a Tuesday class at 6. They may want to go Thursday, Wednesday, whatever. We also really need to look at that contract staffing model. Is it really delivering the results we need for the community? Is it effective? Is it efficient? Are we missing some opportunities? We have a lot of spaces that are being underutilized, is what we found. And so we think we can get a lot more from our existing facilities if we think about them in a more effective way. We also, as Gail showed, a lot of our spaces are partners. The schools, there's the Veterans Memorial Hospital, there's the Menlo College. How do we work better with those partners to give us some of the space we might need? And then really increasing our programming coordination between all the facilities. And maintenance, we have to make sure we are maintaining our facilities at a very high level because if they're not well maintained, people simply won't use them. So one of our goals is to find new sites, and this is not easy. There is not a lot of land here in Menlo Park, and so we're thinking maybe we can find some pocket parks in downtown as it gets developed. Can we look at some roof decks? Facebook has a couple areas that are potential there, and it's really important as we think about the needs assessment. We really see that sort of northern area up in Belhaven as not only the densest area, but the place that has the least amount of parks So we have a lot of population up there, we have a lot of action, but we need more parks. So how do we get that? San Francisco Creek is a really interesting opportunity, that idea of creating nature, and how can we expand upon that? Is there an opportunity to build little parks and trails along that area? Just on the other side, there are some, but maybe we need more in Menlo Park. So how do we find this space? We really need to look everywhere. No space should be unconsidered. So if something, a lot becomes available, we need to look at that. We need to look at partnerships. We need to look at utility right-of-ways. Anything that's possible, we need to think about that, because we just don't have other large spaces. So I rattled through that really fast, and I'm sure there was a lot of elements there. And so both Gail and I are open for questions, and I'm sure Derek. And we also, these questions here up on the screen are in the study, your packet, and we just wanted to make sure that you had those in front of you. So give us that direction, because we want to know, is this sounding right?
Missing anything?
Yeah, does this reflect the Menlo Park? So we're kind of bringing our experience and our perspective, and really need your perspective. And does this sound right for Menlo Park? So that's it.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate the presentation and the work, and looking forward to the continuing engagement. So let me see if there are any questions. Anyone wants to? I'll go ahead and just make certainly one comment that crossed my mind as I was going through it. In no particular order of your questions here, but more of, I'd love to be able to see some innovative best practices from other cities. I see it sprinkled throughout, but any specific examples that you can bring to us that shows us how to make something work, a new idea. I'll be perfectly frank, we tried to do a pocket park in downtown, didn't go so well. So, but I'm not willing to give up on the idea. And when you mentioned downtown greening, there may be some ideas that are working elsewhere, and would love to make sure that we're getting those best practices. Certainly the issue that you brought up at the end, how to maximize the use of our existing land, given that we don't have any certainly large areas really left. How do we either make sure we're making the best use of not only existing parks, but also some of the spaces that you mentioned that we should consider, and again, would like to see some examples as we go through it. And I'm certainly very excited about the work that you're doing, and very excited for the outcome. But just consider that some additional tweaking or to the project vision and goals. I think you've captured most of it. So just I know hopefully it's more just adding a little bit of some questions and trying to get some best case examples would be easy to implement and come back to us. So appreciate that. Rich, I think Councilmember Klein.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation and the work so far, particularly outreach. It's always going to be a challenge, the outreach, right? But I do think you've spent a lot of time trying to reach people. Some of the questions I have, that they may be too absorbed for this time frame, but you did mention the cost structure, and if you were to simplify that, it's if it's the same cost structure across the city, then it's the same staff talent and service level across the city. That's basically what you're saying. And if it's less, it may be more affordable, but it doesn't provide the same level of staff and service.
Right, and we certainly would not want to exclude anybody by changing not allowing for some scholarships or reduced fees. But right now, for instance, you can get a reduced fee at Onetta, but you couldn't come over here to the gymnastics program and get a reduced fee.
Okay.
So how do we make those, that's just a great example of like, let's make that across the board, and we can raise up, I think, the possibility, the staffing and the contract programming opportunities for the entire city.
Okay. And another one I was going to ask, I think it's kind of, I guess it's different, but in a similar regard, it's the types of agreements that you have with the facilities, the owners of facilities like schools. Are there different and newer types of agreements that you've seen? We looked at this about 15, 20 years ago and updated it, but are there different types of relationships now that create more opportunities for cities? Do you know?
I would love to say that there's a magic wand on that, but really there's a kind of two-pronged approach, I think. I'll just have that in my head. One is you really have to have a strong long-term relationship that is, you actually have to spend a lot of resources on managing that. The school district is a really good example because so many of their facilities really keeping that at top of mind. And then you do have to have a really strong agreement that is very clear who's doing the maintenance, who comes to when there's a problem, that sort of thing. And we have a lot of the agreements are pretty strong, but it's then making sure they're enforced and then and keeping those relationships alive. So I think we have some of the tools. We just need to push it on both sides further. And we can look at that in terms of the best practices. As you said, are there other things out there that we could think about that might enable this to be a little more automatic?
Right.
But I do feel like partnerships do require some fostering.
And one in particular is Stanford has, and I just call them out because they have a significant number of fields. Some are relatively close across Sand Hill that sometimes go unused for periods of time. They're not scheduled or whatever. There may be reasons. Stanford has a million, I'm sure, but anything to kind of analyze university and relationships as well. I mean, Berkeley and Palo Alto, I don't know if they have something different, but I feel like those fields could easily be used by some sports teams and sports groups we have if we knew the proper steps and take some of the pressure off of some of the fields. We have lacrosse now, field hockey, soccer. I mean, these big fields are going to be tapped, I think, pretty quickly again, and then we're going to be staring at each other wondering what's next.
Yeah.
Also, the field technology. Mm-hmm. If you're looking 20 years out, turf, kinds of turf, evolution of turf, because there still is this whisper every game I go to that this turf doesn't seem healthy. You go to some of these cities, like this feels like we're playing on car tires.
Right.
I don't know if there's anything in the plan that would bring that element up.
Well, the technology, certainly it's changing. It's changing very quickly, and it's changing the same way the lighting has changed from incandescent bulbs to sulfur bulbs to LEDs, and that's happened really quickly. And there's definitely demand and market demand for better synthetic turfs, and so they're evolving, and they're not quite the same old tire crumb rubber things. There's a lot of different alternatives, and we can discuss those. But it does increase the playability of the field. You get more field time. You don't have to rest, the grass because you just need to vacuum it once in a while.
You like to balance it, right, and have some that are natural, but the ones that are turf, you want to be as healthy, as confident in what the materials are, and and those types of things, which I think sometimes we don't know.
Absolutely.
And then lighting also is the other one. It's just, when you talk about lighting at Burgess, we had this fight when I was on the Parks and Rec Commission. I don't think the neighborhood is necessarily supportive of lights at Burgess unless you can show me lights that don't have the impact that every light that every field does. And I've heard these lights are different, but when I go to the field, I'm like, I wouldn't think so if I was across the street. Right. Maybe they do go down more, but they certainly still go out, and there's still a visual impediment for some neighbors that are local. So I'm just curious about those things. These are just feedback because I know you're doing the plan. And the last thing is, what is the ideal distance for communities and their parks? Is it a quarter mile? Is it a half mile? Do we know that?
There's a national movement for cities having everyone within a 10-minute walk of the parks, and it's about a half mile.
Okay.
And
And that means multiple different types, right? You could have an active field, but it really isn't that open to the community, so you need to have a passive field also, or a passive use type recreation area so that it's not always scheduled.
Right, the objective is to have some kind of recreational opportunity available to people within a short walking distance.
And I'll just add, I think a big trend is the development of multi-activity parks. And so instead of just having a big ball field, can we create a walking track around that? Can you put in a play structure? Can you have a little dog run? So really optimizing that space again, but also seeing how we can have multiple users come to the same park, just because what you're saying.
That's great. And that tennis key evaluation would be great too. Palo Alto has no tennis key. You just go to a court. We have one, a fee for a tennis key, and I hear that constantly. If you play tennis, I hear it constantly, but that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I just noticed switch screens that we do have a speaker, Pamela Jones. And I apologize, Pamela. Normally we have, as you know, public speaker at the start before our questions and comments, but having said that, welcome and good evening as always.
Yeah. Good evening and welcome to you back from, a 7-week hiatus. We just need to black out for 2 months like many of the other cities do, and then we don't have to worry about, having these meetings. And Monday is odd. It really is. Anyway, appreciated the report. As you know, I've been following you along. And of course, my concern is for our little 0.5 square miles of Belhaven, which, as you know, we are locked in by traffic and accessibility. So in considering what we do have there, it's a challenge at this time because we have activities that draw people from outside of the neighborhood, which means on our narrowest streets, Terminal, we have excess traffic. And I don't know if that's part of the research that the Belhaven Calming Study did, if they were able to do that accurately. But I think it's important not only for our little area, but it's anywhere else in the city that they work directly with the transportation department. So we really look at what do we have to make the parks accessible. And also consider, when you talk about working with the library, because I noticed you had partnership with the library, and you talked about Burgess, that they should be talking to the Belhaven Neighborhood Library Advisory Committee, BNLAC. Because the community, we're going to have a library, and we don't have much land, and so therefore the only logical place is either Jack in the Box or it was a joke, and a little postage there, but is at the Onetta Center, So we need to consider the pieces of land, inventory it all, and then look at what can we realistically use this land for. The one other thing is, I think it's fascinating having second levels, but in some of the areas in Menlo Park, we have some really serious wind that usually comes up about 2 o'clock in the afternoon and lasts until about 6. So I know that's something you'll take into consideration, have to pay attention to. But anyway, I'm excited looking forward to the next 20 years of our parks, because I plan on being around for another 30 years.
Thank you, Pamela. Helen Wolter. Welcome and good evening.
Good evening. I'm Helen Walter. I'm with the Committee for Green Foothills. I really appreciate all of you hearing me this evening. I love that you guys are doing your Parks Master Plan. Yay, go Parks. And as you all know, I am not a resident of Menlo Park, but I just wanted to remind this council that Bedwell's master plan, when you guys did that a few months ago, you said that you would utilize this parks master plan, the entire citywide, to improve accessibility and educational opportunities at Bedwell. So I want to make sure that you guys really use your consultant fully to include those aspects, because I know you guys have much more active recreation opportunities within your city. So just remember to include the passive side as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Any other questions or comments? I see both lights on. I think it was Councilmember Keith.
Thank you. Hi, Gail and Mindy. Thanks so much for that presentation, and Derek for all the work that you do also for our Parks and Rec. And great presentation, great start. I'm glad to hear there's so much community engagement in this, and I think that is always the key to success for these things. Some of the things that I do see a couple of our Parks and Rec commissioners here, so thank you for being here tonight. And in talking with our Parks and Rec commissioners, just knowing how important inclusivity is, and I'm glad that that's part of the goal here, and making sure that our parks are accessible for everybody, no matter what their physical ability. And so that's really important to me. I do want to see a splash pad. I go to other communities and see them, and I know we were in a 6-year drought, and we could be in a drought again, but I'd like you to look at different ways where the water is recycled and how to make that happen in a situation where there could be a drought. I think that they're super enjoyable mostly for kids, and I can point to a couple of communities north and south of us that have them, and they're immensely popular. So I would love to see that here in Menlo Park as well. Outdoor art, I think, is really important. So if we can incorporate outdoor art into these parks, I think that is crucial. And I think we should have outdoor art, not just in our parks, but everywhere, downtown as well, and in other parts of the city. You mentioned the pump track, and I see people here who are interested in flood park issues. Thanks for being here tonight. There is a pump track proposal perhaps in the flood park, but it's not very big. Mm-hmm. And I understand, no matter where we look, that land is a valuable resource and we don't have a lot of it, but I wouldn't let the fact that there's a pump track at one park possibly be a deterrent to looking at another site for something like that. And then just looking, I have 2 dogs. I know dog parks are really important for all of us who own dogs, and we like to have places to take them. I would love to see also more water in the parks for both humans and dogs. So making sure that we have fountain facilities for that. I know, Helen, thank you for being here for Committee for Green Foothills. Talking about the creek and talking about the fact that we don't have a lot of new land to use. One idea can be to use the creek, but to do that, I know that there will be a lot of people who will say, no, we don't want you to use the creek as a facility for any purpose because of the sensitive habitat and the nature in the creek. One idea that has been brought forward is sort of a seasonal trail, perhaps, in San Francisco Creek, using the creek bed as the path. So we may bring that forward as part of the San Francisco Creek Joint Powers Authority, because part of the mission there is also to look at recreational opportunities. And there is limited land on the Menlo Park side to create pocket parks, but we do have plans for 1 or 2 on the Menlo Park side where there is some land. They're not as large as the site on Santa Clara County, but they're available to try and do something with. So that is something that I think we should look at also, because we have such limited space. And passive, Bedwell Bayfront Park. I think we have rules and restrictions on how Bedwell Bayfront Park can be used, and it is a passive park, and we did do our master plan and heard loud and clearly from lots of the residents, including the Friends of Bedwell Bayfront Park, about making sure that we do continue to have passive uses. I think part of the things that were looked at were perhaps sort of a very subtle amphitheater where children could come, for learning purposes, to be able to have a place to sit. And then the other thing, Hetch Hetchy right-of-way, you brought that up too. And I want to thank Derek Schweigart for working with me last year with the SFPUC, because we did, and that was not part of your work plan, so thank you. And we did meet with them, and we had a very interesting, productive meeting where we learned a lot about what you can and cannot do on the right-of-way. But it could be an opportunity to at least have pathways, some sort of walking pathways. There are other places that have grandfathered in some things that we don't have, and so they have very stringent requirements on what you can and can't do. You can't put fencing there. You can't put things that they can't remove if there's a flood, for example, and they have to get access. But if we could create some sort of mandala, walking, mandala or a path on that right-of-way, that could be an exciting opportunity. So I would like us to look at that as well when you're considering different ideas on how to utilize space that we have. And if you're talking about also the developments that are going on, I mean, as Mayor Otake brought up, we did try a pocket park. I think doing pocket parks, there's all these, downtown created a lot of strife. And so if we were to do that again, ever, it would have to be rolled out in a different way, with a lot more community input about where and how to program it, because you just can't plop down the turf and then call it a pocket park. It won't work. So the programming is going to be crucial. And I think also as far as Flood Park goes, I know, when you talk about lighting, the homes that are abutting the back of Flood Park, they're obviously going to be sensitive to light issues. And we did send a letter in recently on Flood Park to make some more comments about concerns that I see people from Flood Triangle here raised. So if we can move the siting of large fields to somewhere closer to a road that doesn't have, it's not adjacent to backyards, that's always a better idea or better option. But thank you. I really look forward to doing this and seeing all the great improvements we can make. Thanks.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Mueller.
Yeah, so the first answer is you guys are doing a great job. And I want to thank our Park and Rec commissioners who are here as well. I want to thank the subcommittee who's working, the committee that's working with you all. There are residents who signed up for that who are putting in a ton of work. I want to thank our staff. Also, the Pocket Park on Santa Cruz has gotten beat up a little bit. I want to thank our staff for the work on that, though. That was a lot of work. And you guys did a lot of programming there, and it worked for a long time. It was a temporary installation that once it started not to work, we needed to figure out. But I didn't want that to go unnoticed because I know staff really put their heart into trying to make that work. The access and functional needs issue is big across the board, and I think you know that. I saw the pictures there and what you're attempting to that, so I really appreciate that. I'm very interested, and it's something that we don't talk about, and it seems kind of crazy to think about now, but the economy shifts, and I'm very interested in land acquisition, actually, because I think as the city actually becomes more dense over time, which happens in every city, you need to have a strategy for land acquisition for your parks, how that occurs, and so to be thinking about that now, looking into the future, is not a bad thing. We all have the things that we personally would love to come about. I'm interested, and I've talked to the city manager and my colleagues about it, very interested, obviously, what a park looks like on top of a parking structure and those innovative trends. Other thing that I'm interested in is that I think falls under Park and Rec is there are traditional uses in the city when the economy's high that are hard to make pencil, but add to the quality of life of the community. So one of the things like that is a cinema. I see that as like similar to an amenity like a pool. So what's the model that works with the city that's trying to program something like that into their Park and Rec system? It's funny you mentioned pickleball. I'm going to out him. Peter Diepenbrock, who is the Palo Alto High School basketball coach, knows one of the most competitive guys you'll ever meet, actually emailed me when he saw the Almanac article, and he's like, I want pickleball and I want Frisbee golf. He lives in unincorporated Menlo Park, and I happen to agree with them. Both those things would be great to try to get into the city. I love what you guys are doing with we're trying to create. We have amazing parks in the city, but to create a cohesiveness through the neighborhoods and have that somehow fit into the brand of the city of I live is something that I think would be really beautiful, especially with what we're doing with their transportation master plan right now with connectivity of bicycle paths. I think it's something that's actually really, I think if we do right, we'll just add that much more of that home quality of life feel that we're trying to accomplish in the city. And then I have, of course, I'm going to mention my little pet project. I really want to try to figure out one of the things that we're losing in the city, and we've recently on council have seen this in the number of emails we've gotten from people about the bank. The place for kids just to go hang out. We lost a couple of years ago. We lost the what was it called? Ice cream shop. blanking on the, yeah, Foster Freeze. We lost it. And what was funny was all the people who contacted me talked about going there in their youth and hanging out there with their friends. And so we started a project that Derek's worked with us on, and the Park and Rec Committee has seen, where we're talking about trying to do a use like that with the snack shack in the middle of Burgess. It's trying to create a place that kids who are in their middle school years or even early high school years can just go with friends after school and ride their bike and have a sense of place. And that's different than going to soccer practice at a field. It's a safe space where they can actually go and just have ice cream, which is hard to do with property values the way they are out there right now. So that's those are my comments, but I really appreciate your work. It's really coming together well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And yes, any final thoughts or any?
Oh, no, just want to thank you again for your time. I know we're well over our time for the evening, so we look forward to bringing back more key findings and so forth as we start to wrap up towards the end of this year. But I do want to encourage everybody to come out and go to our project website for menlopark.org/mymenloparks, and you can get information about the project and so forth throughout the remainder of this year, and we want to encourage everybody to continue to participate. So again, thanks again for your time tonight.
Great, thank you very much. And Derek, don't go too far. Okay, all right. I'm now going to call the regular session of the Menlo Park City Council to order for August 6th. I'm Peter Otake. I'm honored to be to serve as the mayor this year, and I'm going to go through roll call right now. To my right is Councilmember Rich Klein. We're trying to get Councilmember Catherine Carlton on the line right now. On this side of Vice Mayor Ray Mueller. And then next to Ray is Councilmember Kirsten Keith. Over at the table there is our city manager, Alex McIntyre. And next to Alex is our assistant city attorney, Kara Silver. And over on this side is our city clerk, Judy Heron, who is sitting actually at the screen. But I wanted to point out, Judy, that if you'd like to speak on an item tonight or in public comment, please fill out a card that we have at the back tables, and please give that card to Judy, and she will make sure that you're slotted to when we have the applicable item up on the agenda this evening. We very much appreciate your interest and willingness to be here tonight and speak to us. If I can ask all of you to rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I have a couple of announcements. First of all, we had a closed session earlier. I don't have any actions to report from the closed session. Secondly, I wanted to announce that the city manager and city attorney have informed me that one of my fellow council members who voted to place the charter measure on the ballot at the last meeting would like to move to reconsider the matter. This item has not been agendized, and thus under our city council rules would require a 4/5 vote to even consider placing the matter on the agenda. With the city council's indulgence, I would like to entertain that motion immediately following the consent calendar in order to allow as many members of the public as possible to participate. My purpose in announcing this item now is not to have the discussion at this point, but to alert the public, particularly those who may be watching us on TV, that if you have a particular interest on this topic, we'd like to invite you to join us, and that we may entertain a motion at that time. Yes, Vice Mayor Mueller.
So I don't know if the moving party is Councilmember Carlton, and secondarily, If she's not present, what's the number of people we need to vote on the vote on the item?
Yes. So if you have 5 members present, then a 4/5 vote is required to place a non-agendized item. If you only have 4 members, then all 4 of you need to vote on the matter.
Okay. All right. Yes, Councilmember Klein.
If I did not vote on the original item on the 19th, does that affect how I vote now?
No, it doesn't. You
Okay.
can still participate.
Right. Okay. And then the other announcement I'd like to make is actually from our information items later tonight, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows that the 101 Willow Overpass will be, due to construction requirements, will be closed on the weekend of September 14th. And from Friday, September 14th at 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Monday, September 17th. And I read that in the staff report and felt that was something that was important to announce as early and often as possible. So I hope you don't mind. I wanted to mention that. We can talk about that more later in the evening, but I wanted to get that out front. Okay. So we have several proclamations this evening. First, we have a proclamation and presentation on National Park and Recreation Month. Derek, thank you for staying there. I think you're going to
Yeah,
play
not a problem. There's a
short video.
presentation, Mayor. And thank you for indulging. July was Parks and Rec month, and so we always take an opportunity to really just sort of acknowledge and celebrate our parks and our facilities, our programs, and so forth. So we had staff put together a presentation. It's actually in the form of a video. So I'd like to just take a few minutes to indulge you, and then we can jump into the proclamation.
To be able to come out and see neighbors and friends at events like this is wonderful.
I think the variety of music is one of my favorite parts of the concert series.
So we come every year to this event, and we love the park setting, and the best thing is the Sun Kings Beatles tribute band.
It's a lot of fun, weather's perfect.
I love the way it brings a community together, a chance to see people that apparently I live nearby and I haven't had a chance to meet. I'm really impressed with the variety of events that are here, the people that have gathered, and especially a chance to watch all these kids enjoying their time out today.
We like sliding. I think the carnival games are the best.
Our community services department is very vast. We offer childcare, sports, recreation, gymnastics. We offer so much opportunity.
We have like 8 or 9 kids going through this program, and it seems to provide them with a really good experience. The boys love it because they can just run around like crazy people and jump in the foam pit. They like the foam pit. The girls like more of the walking on the beams and doing the floor stuff.
It's a good place for seniors to get to come here and relax and enjoy each other's company, and also to learn something.
They have just a whole bunch of different activities. Ceramics, exercises, English classes, Spanish, dance classes, computers.
It's very inviting, it's very informal. When I came to this location, I just loved it.
We've been participating over maybe half a year. My boys really enjoy it. It's easy to sign up for classes. The communication back and forth with the staff has been great. And my kids enjoy their instructors.
My younger brother, he likes to come here because, you know, there are a lot of kids for him to play with. They have structured activities here, and he's not just, you know, sitting at home all day staring at the TV or playing Xbox. He has people to interact with and, you know, new activities to do. He, you know, would never be able to go swimming because, you know, his mom is at work all day, I'm at work all day. It's just, you know, a lot of stuff for him to do here that he would not be able to do otherwise. It's a great community here. It's safe. I don't mind my kids being here. I don't have to worry about, you know, what's going to happen to them here. And, you know, I know that someone's keeping a good eye on them, and I know that they matter to the people here, and their safety matters, and their health matters, and, you know, their feelings matter. So, I mean, I think that all ties into a sense of community, and it's just a great one.
Great, Derek. Why don't you join me at the podium? Yes, that's right. So come on up and allow me to read this, and I know we'll be having your report, I think, after this, so for everyone to stay tuned. July 2018 is Parks and Recreation Month, whereas park and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout the country, especially here in Menlo Park. And whereas our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining quality of life, ensuring health of all community members, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of Menlo Park. And whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities, helping to prevent chronic disease and improve the mental health of all of our citizens. And whereas parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expanded local tax base, increased tourism, attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. Whereas parks and open spaces are fundamental to the environment, well-being of our community, and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas residents value recreation as it provides positive alternatives for children and youth to reduce crime and mischief, especially during non-school. It promotes the arts, it increases social connections, aids in therapy, and provides lifelong learning. Whereas the City of Menlo Park provides and maintains 14 parks and 2 open spaces, over 250 acres for the residents of Menlo Park to enjoy. Whereas the City of Menlo Park Resident Satisfaction Survey indicated that 80% of residents were very satisfied or somewhat satisfied with the services of the park and recreation programs and events. And whereas last year the City of Menlo Park Community Services Department had more than 22,000 annual participants in our recreation and social service programs. And whereas the City of Menlo Park celebrates providing nearly 1.4 million participant hours at our Menlo Park Recreation and Community Services facilities, and whereas the Menlo Park City Council urges all of its residents to recognize that parks and recreation enriches the lives of its residents and visitors, as well as adding value to the community's homes and neighborhoods, and now therefore be it proclaimed, the Menlo Park City Council hereby proclaims July 2018 as Parks and Recreation Month, and in doing so urges all its citizens to use and enjoy its parks, trails, open space, facilities, and recreational opportunities. Thank you. It's quite a mouthful. Thank you. So, here we go. Okay. Would either of you like to say anything real quick? Okay. All right. We'll be here. Why don't I provide that to you? So the next proclamation we have this evening is what's that? Oh, okay, great. So we'll have a presentation on this. Supporting Energy Upgrade California. So why don't we go to the presentation?
You do it all. Thank you so much. My name is Laura Rosenthal, and with me is Daisy Yee from the CPUC. And Energy Upgrade California is a program of the CPUC. So I'm just going to do a very brief presentation for you first. First, I did want to thank all of the council. Thank you, Mayor, for asking us here. And I did want to give a special shout out to Kirsten and also to Kat. I don't know if you're on the phone, but who I've been working with, as well as Alex, your city manager, to bring this to your city. So I appreciate all of that extra help and interest in the environment. So Energy Upgrade California, it's a path to energy efficiency. Do your thing, help California meet our climate goals. So am I just pressing this? Oh, it wasn't on, it wasn't me. To your right. Thank you. So what is Energy Upgrade California? Our mission really is to encourage every Californian, and we really mean everyone, to be more energy efficient. And we really want to rally Californians. We want them to rethink energy. Things are changing. We need to start thinking about it differently, and we want every person in the state to really feel like they can have the power to make a difference, even with very small changes. So this is just a little history lesson of when Energy Upgrade California started. As I said, it's a initiative, a statewide initiative of the CPUC. And in 2013, we looked at home house upgrades. And then, as we all know, in 2015, landmark legislation, SB 350. And then in 2017, EUC relaunched and really started to look at how we can get every Californian involved in this. And then now we're doing the Do Your Thing, which is really, as I said, to get every person to do at least one thing, to do your thing. And so how Energy Upgrade California works, you can see that we have social media, we do things with education programs, outreach. These are just some of the ways that we get through to different people in California. And so we're really here to help. We're here to provide resources to you. You don't have to really do anything. We have educating and sharing energy efficient practices with all of you, like social media posts. We provide newsletter content readily available that your city staff can just download. We have a lot of different supporters. Obviously, the CPUC and the California Energy Commission. We work with local governments like yourselves. And as I said, we provide the materials. And we really want to work with your city, with your staff, come to events that you have here at the city, co-sponsor, and also to learn about community-based organizations in your community that might want to partner with us, because that's really how we get out to people, is working with cities and working with community-based organizations. And then we also have something called Energy Heroes, where we try to shine a spotlight on people, community organizations that are kind of going above and beyond, doing something special. And so we would be able to highlight them on our Energy Upgrade California website. So these are just some of the community-based groups that we work with. Some of them are state-based. Some of them are more local. I mean, we work with some local boys and girls clubs, and then organizations like Small Business Majority that would be more statewide, all different kinds. We work with disability groups. We really are trying to get to groups that aren't always represented. Low-income seniors, multicultural groups, people like that. So we would look to your city to help us find those people and those groups in your city. So this is just a small group of the cities that we work with. We just recently added the city of Beverly Hills last week. And so we want to add the city of Menlo Park, which we are this evening. And then once you join with us, we will give you one of those little social badges that you see on there for La Habra Heights, and you can put that out in your own social media, and we will also help publicize that. So we just want to say thank you again. We're really looking to engage your community, to educate, and to work with you so that every Californian really knows that they can make a difference with energy efficiency.
All right, thank you, Laura, and welcome, Daisy, and allow me to read the proclamation. So, supporting Energy Upgrade California, whereas the Golden State is a national leader in energy conservation, embracing efforts from residents and small businesses which place California on track to double energy efficiency, produce 33% of its energy from renewable resources, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 40% before 2030, goals as set forth in Senate Bill 350, the Clean Energy and Pollution Reduction Act of 2015. And whereas the state goals align with the City of Menlo Park's own goals, including sustainable growth, civic engagement, and quality of life for all residents, and whereas the visibility of California state and local level governments create a responsibility to act as policy leaders in the global arena, particularly in the wake of U.S. withdrawal from multilateral efforts toward the shared problem of environmental degradation and climate change. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the City of Menlo Park supports Energy Upgrade California, a statewide initiative committed to empowering Californians to become energy stewards with the call to do your thing. Each Californian can do one thing, for example, raising the thermostat in the spring and summer, washing laundry on the cold cycle, opting for LED lights, running the dishwasher during off-peak hours, or unplugging unused devices to use less energy. Each individual action can result in a big impact not only for the City of Menlo Park, but also the state. Be it further proclaimed that I, Peter Otake, Mayor of the City of Menlo Park, urge all our residents and small businesses to become more conscious energy stewards, recognizing that all City of Menlo Park residents and small businesses have the power to make a big difference by taking even small actions. I very much agree with that. So, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
And I'm pleased to join the initiatives. So.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
for coming tonight.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thanks,
Council.
Thank you, Council.
Judy Adams. If you'll come on up and join me. So allow me to read the proclamation here. Mayors for Peace for a World Free of Nuclear Weapons. Whereas the United States Conference of Mayors has unanimously adopted Mayors for Peace resolutions for 13 consecutive years, and on June 26, 2017, called on the United States to support negotiations then underway on a new treaty to prohibit nuclear weapons, and on June 11, 2018, called on the United States government to exercise global leadership in preventing nuclear war. And whereas Mayors for Peace, which is working for a world without nuclear weapons and safe and resilient cities as essential measures for the realization of lasting world peace, has grown to 7,578 cities in 163 countries and regions with 213 U.S. members, representing in total over 1 billion people. And whereas without participation by the United States, Russia, and the other nuclear-armed states on July 7, 2017, by a vote of 122 to 1, the majority of the world's countries adopted a historic treaty to prohibit the possession, development, testing, use, and threat of use of nuclear weapons. And whereas the USCM calls on the President and Congress to reverse federal spending priorities and to redirect funds currently allocated to nuclear weapons and unwarranted military spending to support safe and resilient cities, to fully fund community block development grants, to mitigate climate change, to create jobs by rebuilding our nation's crumbling infrastructure, and to ensure basic human services for all, including education, environmental protection, food security, housing, and health care. And whereas the USCM urges all U.S. mayors to join Mayors for Peace to help reach the goal of 10,000 member cities by 2020, and encourages U.S. members to act at the municipal level to raise public awareness about the growing dangers of wars among nuclear-armed states, the humanitarian and financial costs of nuclear weapons, and the urgent need for good faith U.S. leadership in negotiating the global elimination of nuclear weapons. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Peter Otake, Mayor of the City of Menlo Park, on behalf of the City Council, hereby join the call of the United States Conference of Mayors and join the Mayors for Peace movement to build a world free of nuclear weapons. Thank you. Now, let me just mention one thing. So 1 month ago, I was in Japan and went to Hiroshima, and went to the Peace Memorial there. It's actually my second time, and each time it's very, very moving. And so certainly when Judy contacted me about this, we certainly wanted to acknowledge this effort. And tonight at the end of the meeting, I will adjourn the meeting in recognition of the victims of the atomic bomb in both Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So with that, I'd like to present you the proclamation, and thank you for bringing it to our attention. So. Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Judy, would you like to say anything?
I would just like to thank the City Council, the Mayor, Catherine Carlton, and the Committee on Sister Cities. And she was the founder, I believe, of that program, that committee. And extend to all residents of Menlo Park a wish for peace and prosperity and understanding among nations. Thank you.
Our final proclamation is to recognize Nikki Nagaya. Nikki, come on up. And whereas Nikki Nagaya has served the City of Menlo Park Public Works Department for 5 years, and whereas in 2013, Nikki was first hired as a senior transportation engineer in 2015, her hard work resulted in a promotion to transportation manager, and in 2017, Nikki's dedication and leadership resulted in a promotion to assistant public works director. Whereas Nikki has been a champion of various initiatives to help all modes of traffic get around Menlo Park, such as the Safe Routes to Schools program and coordinating the start of a Transportation Management Association. And whereas Nikki successfully secured grant funding for multiple projects to help implement adaptive traffic signals, move the Caltrain grade separation studies forward to a preferred alternative, and improve bicycling facilities throughout the city. And whereas Nikki has been instrumental in getting the Transportation Master Plan initiated and started to plan for our future transportation improvements. And whereas with her calm and pleasant demeanor, Nikki improved communication to the community about public works projects and was always a reliable resource to community members, organizations, and businesses in our city. And whereas Nikki oversaw both the land management and transportation teams, guiding them through challenging projects and always helping coordinate and improve the communication with other departments. And whereas Nikki once buzzed the treetops of Menlo Park in a helicopter to observe traffic patterns and gather live data, and whereas Nikki will also be known for her compassionate leadership, her quick sense of humor, her love of pets and superheroes, and her fanatic devotion to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Peter Otake, Mayor of the City of Menlo Park, on behalf of the City Council, express sincere thanks and appreciation to Nikki Nagaya for her dedication and exemplary service to the City of Menlo Park. So, tears in my eyes here. Nikki is going to be leaving us to join the San Francisco MTA, and we're very sad to see her go, but we certainly wish her well. I can say certainly, in addition to many of these comments, that her poise in public meetings was really amazing. It was certainly something that I have always respected and impressed at how she handled the most contentious public meetings, because, as you know, traffic's always a controversial subject and lots of passions, and she managed everyone. And was able to convey information and make these meetings productive despite all of the passions involved, and we very much appreciate and I've seen that several times in action, and that's a quality that we certainly will miss. And all of her hard work to keep all of these projects, as you all know, in our priority list and work plan, annual work plan, the transportation projects are certainly on the highest priority, and Nikki has managed to keep them all moving forward and running smoothly, and to dodge and shift as our council reactions have sometimes moved in different directions, but she's done a fabulous job. And so, as I mentioned, I'm very sad to see her go, but again, I think we all wish her well and hope you'll keep in touch and with us. So. Nikki, would you like to say anything?
So those of you that know me know that the only thing I like less than speaking in front of large crowds is speaking about myself in front of large crowds. So thank you. Thank you for this. I appreciate the proclamation. It's been a true honor to be here for 5 years and to see many of the projects that the community and the council set out as vision come to fruition. I will definitely miss the Menlo Park community, but mostly I will miss the folks in the Public Works Department, as well as the city's management team, who have been so supportive in helping implement all of these projects over the last 5 years. And just seeing the difference that we've been able to make in the community has been fantastic. So thank you all for the opportunity to be here. I appreciate it.
All right. Next, we have public comment. Under public comment, the public may address the City Council on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the City Council once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. Please clearly state your name and address or political jurisdiction in which you live. The City Council cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore the City Council cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. We have a handful of public speakers this evening. Dr. Alan Cohen. Alan, welcome, followed by Jen Judas.
Just do it from here. Great. Looks like my
Feel
3
free
minutes.
to adjust the microphone. Sorry.
No problem.
Great, thank you.
I'm into my 3 minutes already, so I got to talk quick. My name's Alan Cohen, as you mentioned. I live in Sharon Heights. Been a resident of Menlo Park a little over a dozen years, raised a couple of kids here. We love the area, and I think I can count the number of times I've needed to be in this room on one finger tonight. So what brings me here is the question, and I read the local newspaper, I use the facilities in our community, and increasingly I use the library just right across the way. Over the last year, 18 months, I've seen increasingly more articles and discussion about interest in wanting to expand or grow the library or what to do about the library here and on the other end of town. And in the course of just trying to learn more about it, I actually found myself now on the library council, so I'm a member of that. And now I've been sucked into this vortex, and you find me here at a late hour with my dinner getting cold while I wanted to spend the next, not quite 2 minutes, just covering a couple of basics. The presentation about parks just a few minutes ago was actually, you could have taken that presentation, changed the title to what libraries do for your community, and my work is done here. I didn't realize, I'm an old guy, and I went to medical school and college a long time ago, and libraries were very different. Libraries now serve a very different purpose for communities. They're for space, they're for teens. I mean, all the bullet points that were discussed here for parks really were relevant. A gathering place, activities and special features, community interests. I mean, you yourself were talking earlier about a need for teens in a safe community, community spaces, meeting spaces, clubs, special interest groups, small businesses. So at the end of the day, the only point I wanted to just share was, if you haven't gone into a library other than ours in 5 or 10 years, do it. I had the pleasure of getting on a little school bus right around the time I joined the Library Commission, and we visited Los Gatos. I go there all the time to just hang around. I never walked in their library. Same thing with Palo Alto. Turns out Palo Alto allows us to take out library books. We don't do that for them, but we can go there. So a second reason to go there. There's a new library opening up in Hayward we'll be visiting, and the point is that libraries serve a different purpose for communities, and for people who I think only know libraries as a place to occasionally borrow a book or maybe look something up or make a photocopy, they're missing the point. And I think for a community as wealthy and as efficient and prosperous as we are, we're not serving our community as well as we could if we don't really start seriously considering what we should do about the library here and perhaps the one across town, for sure. I think my time's running out. Thanks for hearing me out. Lovely to meet you guys, and appreciate all the work you guys are doing. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Cohen. Thank you for joining the commission. And I know the library system will be on an upcoming agenda, I believe, later this month. So welcome you to come back at that time as well. Jen Judas, followed by Stephanie Zeller. Good evening, Jen.
Hello. Hi. Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Jen Judas, and I am here to talk about stop signs on Central. Safety hazard is what I'm going to talk about. I live at 204 Durham Street in Menlo Park. I am a proud resident of the Willows. We've been there 18 years, and it is joyful. And as has been stated by Vice Mayor Mueller and other people in the Parks and Recreation discussion, we are getting more dense. We are only growing, and one of the things that I've seen consistently over the years is the traffic buzzing down Central Avenue. And as a matter of safety, I feel it's really important that we put stop signs in at Elm and Central and/or Walnut and Central. It's a 3-block straightaway with poor visibility, and there's heavy traffic, and it's major thoroughfare for kids going to Laurel Upper. What the city's done has been a great start, and we really appreciate that. My understanding on this issue is that you're looking to kind of stick with what you've done so far with traffic calming measures and incorporate the decisions as to if you would put in a stop sign with the larger traffic plan. And I'm here to ask that you decouple that and that you address this now, because school is going to start and we're looking at I am just so scared we're looking at a tragedy waiting to happen at that stop sign. Those two intersections are just, horribly, horribly dangerous. And I wish my daughter was here because she would tell you about the close call she had with a car there. And I can't imagine. I just feel like such a responsibility is here on the city to keep the kids safe, and that's a really dangerous spot. So again, I ask that you decouple the central stop signs from the overall master plan and address it now before we are all regretting not having done so sooner. So thank you very much for hearing me out.
Thank you. Thank you, Jen. Stephanie Zeller, followed by Tracy Morris.
My name is Stephanie Zeller. I live at 518 Central Avenue. I live in the Willows. I've lived there for 14 years. I am also going to speak about stop signs on Central Avenue, specifically the intersections of Central and Elm and Central and Walnut. I live...
Stephanie, can you move the mic just a little closer?
So sorry, I think I'm height challenged a bit. So I'm talking about, if you heard me, the intersections of Elm and Central and Walnut and Central. I live right in the middle of those two intersections. So I've lived there for 14 years. There is an increase in traffic, but there's an increase in the speed of the drivers down Central Avenue. It is very scary. It is a dangerous street. I have a 14-year-old child, and he's on his bicycle. He goes to school. That's how he commutes. It's not only the children going to Laurel Upper that cross those intersections of Elm and Central and Walnut and Central. It's also the children going to Menlo Atherton and the children going to many other schools. I won't list them all. I'd like you also to realize that Central is a wider street than the other streets that are parallel to Central. So cars love to zoom down. They have to stop at Gilbert and Central, but then they get to have this 3-block straightaway. They can just race down to 3 blocks later, there's another stop sign. But when they're going between those two stop signs, they are definitely going more than 25 miles per hour. And there's low visibility at those intersections of both Elm and Central and Walnut and Central. There's no way to cut down all the trees to get perfect visibility, and I don't want all the trees cut down. I really do appreciate what Nikki, I'm not sure where she is, and other members of the council and staff have been doing to begin to address these issues. Very much appreciated, but I don't want to see us wait to get stop signs. School does start soon. It's not something that should be tabled. It's not something that should happen in a year or so. It shouldn't be studied indefinitely. We need these stop signs now. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of my personal experience. I was watching TV one night with my child. I heard a noise. I went out into the street. There was a lady lying on the street with her bicycle next to her, and she was lying in a pool of her own blood. The poor man who had been in this accident, he was driving the vehicle, she was on her bicycle. He was outside, he was crying. She was not responding in the beginning. It was a horrible scene. A lovely neighbor was helping take care of her. I brought a blanket for her. She called 911. It was a horrible scenario. I do not want to see anybody else lying on my street in a pool of blood. Okay, this is a harsh way to make my point, but we need stop signs because I don't want to see this again. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Tracy Morris. Good evening.
Hi, I'm Tracy Morris. Thanks for the opportunity. I live in the Willows on Central and Walnut at the corner of one of the intersections that we're talking about here. I was also one of a group of people who gathered petition signatures of almost 80 people in 2 nights in the beginning of the summer, urging stop signs to be put at one or both of those intersections. As you've heard, they are both dangerous. I have seen a little girl in May who had just been hit by a car and was taken by ambulance. She was on her way to Willow Oaks School. I have, a 10-year-old kid who I'm afraid to let ride his bike to school because of, we're like 3 blocks away and I'm afraid to let him ride his bike. I really appreciate the work that you all have done so far, and especially with Nikki and the city staff. You guys have done a lot quickly, and that's great, but more needs to be done. I forwarded pictures this morning that a neighbor had sent to me of an accident that happened just under 2 years ago with a car that ended up on our neighbor's yard because they were trying to avoid an accident with a car going down Central. And there were no kids there, but there could be kids there next time. And this is something that's fixable. So I urge you to do something more and to put up a stop sign at one or both to slow down the cars and make it safer, and to do it before school starts. And I know things can often move slowly, but you guys were able to do it with what you've done so far. So I know it can be done. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tracy. Judy, are there any more cards? Okay. All right, next we will have a commission report from the Parks and Rec Commission Chair, Jennifer Johnson.
Good evening, Mayor Otake, council members. Thank you for allowing me to bring this report to you today. You've just heard a lot about the Parks and Recreation Facilities Master Plan and the status of that, so I won't belabor that anymore. That is one of the most important things that we're currently working on, and commission members have been attending community events and trying to promote resident participation in that process. And we also have 2 commissioners who are on the oversight committee for the master plan process. The other big thing that we have going on right now is a CIP project for Nealon Park, and the council voted to authorize additional funds to be used for that, and the consultants were able to come back to us with a pretty detailed plan and presentation of their vision for Nealon Park that really looks amazing, and I think commissioners have a short time to be able to give a little bit more input, but that is well underway. And hopefully we will have Nealon Park back it's there now, but hopefully we will have a new and improved Nealon Park close to the end of the year. And then one other thing I wanted to highlight, I know several people have talked about Flood Park this evening, and we do have a commissioner appointed, that's Sarah Staley-Shank, to the San Mateo County's Reimagine Flood Park project to keep the commission updated as to their plans. And another part of your consent, you've also received the commission's work plan goals that we appreciate your support with. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you again for the commission's hard work. And I don't see any questions, so thank you. So next we'll go to the consent calendar. There are 10 items on the consent calendar. I have a follow-up question, but I'm not going to actually pull it, but I'm going to have a question on one item for guidance. But I wanted to see if there are any requests to pull any of the consent items? All right, if not, do we have a motion to approve the consent items?
I'll move that and just state for the record that June 19th I missed that meeting, so that'll be an abstain, but I'll move them all and we'll take the vote from there.
Great, thank you. Is there a second on the motion? I will second the motion. Before we vote, I just wanted to mention, Alex, if I could, on the item G2, which is, and in particular the Community Development Review, Organization Review, just wanted to make sure that it includes as part of that scope of work the workflow processing, and particularly in light of the land management software, hopefully acquisition and how that's going to impact and hopefully increase the productivity make everybody happier, hopefully.
So the short answer is yes. The longer answer is that is the intention, meaning productivity, streamlining, best practices, just to see how we can do it a little bit better. A lot of this may come back to the council, though, for your ultimate authority to streamline, if that's the right term to use. But the answer is yes.
Great. Perfect. Thank you. All right, let's vote.
The motion passes unanimously.
All right.
So, Mr. Mayor, can I interrupt very quickly? We are struggling to get a hold of Councilmember Carlton. We are having a bear of a time trying to connect with her. We think she is where she is supposed to be because she has texted me that she is there, but for whatever reason, we cannot get the phone systems to talk to one another. So my suggestion is you keep going through the agenda until we run out of time, and then, because if the council hasn't figured it out, it was Councilmember Carlton who wanted to make the motion to reconsider, but if she's not on the phone, we can't do that.
Okay. If that's okay with everyone, why don't we proceed in the regular agenda and keep trying to contact or... I'm getting, been trying. Okay, so why don't we start with item H1, which is establish, consider applicants, and make appointments to the Heritage Tree Task Force. And Rebecca, there she is, Sustainability Manager Rebecca Lucky will make the presentation. Good evening, Rebecca.
Good evening, Mayor Otake and council members. So I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, to keep it short and simple. So basically, the recommendation before you tonight is to establish a Heritage Tree Task Force, including appointing a member of City Council to serve on that task force. The Heritage Tree Ordinance update, just to give you a little bit of background, it's the Heritage Tree Ordinance governs trees on private property. So there's some sensitivity around community values and ensuring that there's a thriving canopy in the city while also balancing property rights. And so over the last several years, there's been concerns about how heritage tree appeals have been handled when in regards to development appeals, replacement mitigation measures being enforced, and some other concerns. So the Environmental Quality Commission came to you probably a couple years ago recommending that the Heritage Tree Ordinance undergo an update just to see if there's improvement that can be made. And then you council members have included it in your work plan over the last 2 years. And so in May, fast forward, staff came to you suggesting that a task force would be ideal for the situation because we're going to look at different options, consider how that can be implemented, and we want to really partner with the community to kind of find creative solutions and also have a very diverse group to kind of pick their brains on as we go through this process. And so we ran applications in May, towards the end of May, and then it went on to July 2nd. We received a total of 11 applications, and from a pretty well-rounded group of people who have gone through appeals, have gone through a permit process, who are just generally interested in the value of trees in the community. Also some property management realtors as well in that pool that are before you tonight. And so the first task force meeting is scheduled August 23rd, that's this month, and then there's 2 shortly thereafter in September and October, because we really need to kind of get through some issues first before we dive into the analysis. And with that, if Judy has anything to add, this will be a Brown Act body, so all the meetings will be publicly noticed. Members of the public are welcome to come and submit comment or written comment to the task force, again, as we go through this process.
Okay, great. And then the staff report, I think you mentioned that it is recommended that the task force consist of no fewer than 7 members, but also not to exceed 12 members. So a range of between 7 and 12, is that the idea?
Yes, so Judy just kindly informed me that one of the other things you may want to do is consider how big you want the task force to be. Because obviously more numbers can also generate more time it takes to get to a decision or a recommendation for you.
Councilmember Carlton?
Right.
Yes. Are you able to hear us okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Great. Councilmember Carlton, we are on topic H1 in regular business, which is the Heritage Tree Task Force. Rebecca Lucky, our sustainability manager, has just completed a presentation. So I just wanted also to ask a question that I understand also from the staff report that two of the commissions, the EQC and the Planning Commission, did go through a process to designate representatives. Is that correct?
Yes.
Who are two of the applicants?
Right. Yeah, they're included in the applicant pool.
And designated. Okay, great. Any other questions, Vice Mayor Mueller?
No.
Okay.
I'll just state, I've looked through all the names, and I don't have any reason to say no to one of the applicants. There are three that have been residents on an appeal. There's a husband and wife who obviously have been in an appeal process, at least Kimberly has. I don't see that as a problem if they both are on it, since there are lots of people that have been on the other side in appeals, so I think it's fairly balanced as far as I can see. So that's where I am.
And given that there are 11 applications, we talked about a committee of 12, with the 12th being one of the representative of the council. I assume that would work for what you're recommending in terms of the task force.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, great.
Requires seven for a quorum.
Yeah, 7 would be required for a quorum. Right, that's right. We have to have over 50% for a quorum, so that means 7 would have to be present. And I think that makes sense. I think everyone on the list has had some involvement, and I think more the merrier, in my opinion. Okay, so I would concur with that recommendation by Councilmember Klein to accept the applicants 1 through 11 that have submitted applications. By acclamation, do I see heads nodding? Yeah. Councilmember Carlton on the phone. We've been discussing on the Heritage Tree Task Force to accept all 11 applicants on the that have applied to be on the task force, and just wanted to, and we have concurrence up here, sort of by acclamation, to go ahead and appoint them to the task force. Do you concur?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, great. So the last question is, who will be, who can serve on the task force? And the question I had on that is, this goes from, this starts already this coming, in a couple weeks, August 23rd, and stretches into much of next year. I would like to make the recommendation that that from a prioritization standpoint, I think it might be ideal if one of the council members who aren't running and will be, as their term continues into next year, might be the best, potential on this. So that's if either of them are willing to, meaning council member or Vice Mayor Mueller or council member Carlton, since the two of you will, your terms continue.
So I don't have a problem doing it, but my question is, I have actually a tree on my property that's going through a review right now. So I need to ask the city attorney, and to be fully candid, the city arborist has looked at it and said the tree's dying. And it's his recommendation it go. But nonetheless, I have to go through, and my wife's actually upset. She wants to keep the tree. But I need to ask the city attorney if I'm allowed to be part of the process, since I'm actually in the process.
You probably wouldn't be the best council member, because you would likely have to recuse on some of the issues.
Okay.
Councilmember Carlton, would you be willing to serve on the task force?
I'm happy to do so if you need me. If another council member, this is something that they're passionate about, though, whether they're running or not running, I'm happy to support anyone else who's interested too. If you need me, I'm happy to do so.
I'm sorry, I'm having difficulty. Oh, that you're happy to do it, thank you.
I'm happy to do it. However, if there's someone else who's passionate about it, I'm happy to support someone else to do it also.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate, we very much appreciate that, Catherine. Okay, so by acclamation, we are appointing Councilmember Carlton to that task force. Any other questions, or are we good?
No, not unless you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I think we're all good. So thank you. Good luck. Great. Appreciate all of those who have applied to be on the task force, and thank you for and welcome to the task force. All right. So, Councilmember Carlton, we wanted to, rather than go to the next items on the regular agenda, we wanted to have an opportunity now to talk about potentially adding on to the agenda tonight the reconsideration of the charter that was language. I'm trying to quickly find the exact language that was approved at the last meeting. Here we go. I'm opening the floor to a possible emergency motion to add an item to the City Council agenda. And this is an opportunity to put a motion to reconsider. Did we lose her?
Hi, you there?
Yes, Kat, are you able to hear us?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I don't know how much of that, Councilmember Carlton, that you heard, but I am now opening the floor to a possible emergency motion to add an item to the City Council agenda for possible reconsideration. I wanted to open and see if any council member wanted to put forward a motion.
Yeah, I'd spoken to the city manager and city attorney about this. I've spoken to residents, and there's so much going on in the city right now, and I believe that there's my gut feeling is that the timing isn't right now for putting it forward. And before we spend the staff time as well as everything else putting this on the ballot, I did want to bring it forward for reconsideration. My gut feeling is the timing isn't the best with so much going on in terms of changes, and I wanted to bring it forward for reconsideration.
Okay.
Are you still there?
Yes. So, as I understand it, we need a second for the motion, and then we can have a discussion which is limited to reconsideration, and a 4/5 vote would be required to pass the reconsideration. I'm looking at our Assistant City Attorney. Can you provide some guidance to us, Kara?
Sure. So under your council rules, in order to add a matter to the agenda that has not been agendized, you are correct that this is treated as a motion for reconsideration, and you need to make two findings in order to bring this up as an emergency motion that has not been agendized. Those two findings are that there is a need to consider the item that arose after the posting of the agenda, and second, that there is a need to take immediate action on this item. And you would have a discussion on that motion whether it can, in the first place, even be whether those findings can be made to put it on the agenda. If the motion passes to put the item on the agenda, you can then have a discussion about reconsidering and whether you would like to have the substance of that motion heard at this meeting or at a subsequent meeting would be part of your later discussion, assuming that 4/5 vote proceeded to actually put the matter on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. With that guidance, thank you. I will second the motion to at least allow us to have the conversation about reconsidering. There is, at least in my opinion, there is certainly the emergency created by the fact that any charter would have to be submitted by this Friday. So I do understand the urgency to do this. So we are opening up the discussion on reconsideration. And so I just wanted to see if there are any other questions. I know a fellow council member wasn't present in that last one, so it's certainly an invitation to welcome your input.
I think more than anything, I've obviously spent time looking over the, and trying to get as up to date as I could on conversations that took place 6 or 7 weeks ago, and so, and as part of the subcommittee, recommending. I just don't know if there's new information that I didn't know coming in on the recommendation, and I obviously wasn't in the vote, but Kat, if you can try to give me more to kind of connect the dots for me.
The new information is simply talking to residents and understanding that people are wrapping their heads around district voting and some of the other changes that we're bringing in, and understanding that on top of that, the charter and the different types of charters and what that means. I think that it's been impressed upon me confusion and just a sense of wanting to wrap their heads around what all those changes mean. It's been impressed upon me that it feels rushed, and I just want to make sure that all of us have sat down in council and really discussed, is this the best time to do it now, or is it better to slow down and take things at a more measured pace in terms of introducing changes?
Okay, thank you.
I'm happy to go with the will of the council. I just wanted to make sure that everyone had a chance to consider this.
Yeah, I think I'll speak for myself. I think I do understand. I think there are, and I think showing, that connection to the community and bringing that back. I appreciate that. I don't think I had those under consideration before. I think it will be difficult, and I'm not sure any time frame would change the difficulty of this application for me. So, not sure I'm there, but.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Mueller.
I just want to say I appreciate the motion. I think that when you're going into a charter process, you really want to have a robust city process. And I think, and I appreciate that, and that's really something that we've lacked in this process. We had a big discussion about elections earlier this year in a robust process, and we reached an end point in that process, which is where we are now. And then this discussion of charter really is was driven by the fact that the council was interested in looking at alternative voting methods to the end of what that charter process, what that end of that district process was. I don't want to go into it too much again, but the city attorney in the last discussion we had on this really had a very cogent explanation of how the California Voting Rights Act really is going to prohibit us until the next census to really take any other alternative pathway with respect to voting until, frankly, after that we would do a robust charter process in 2020. So I think with what the city attorney explained that night, in combination with the fact that we are putting a charter on the ballot that didn't go through a robust process, and Councilmember Carlton indicating since her vote, she's hearing from the community that lack of robustness of process really has people confused, to me is enough the merit that I would support the motion this evening. I in my conversations with the city attorney just this week in discussing that charter language and trying to impart in the community when they see it, which for many of them they'll see it the first time in the voting booth, because I can't imagine we're going to have the opportunity between now and November to really educate people in a way where we reach the majority of the public, of our residents, to really impart on them that what they're voting for really won't number one, to educate them what the California Voting Rights Act is, but number two, that it doesn't exempt us from the California Voting Rights Act. And three, that what they're voting for is that the council will be able to try to find ways around the California Voting Rights Act. All of those things are going to make it very confusing. So at this point, I completely support what Councilmember Carlton's hearing for the community. Frankly, I'm hearing the same thing. I recently had a conversation with a neighbor, and I was just trying to explain to him he's not voting for city council in the next election, but he should pay attention because there is a charter on the ballot and what that meant. It's hard. And I know we're doing the best we can up here. I'm not trying to cast aspersions on any of the process. I just think it's hard to go to our residents with the charter when we haven't had a charter process.
Can I ask a clarifying question? So when we had this discussion initially, I said, I think we should do this on 2020, and lost that vote, but said, look, in the interest of getting this forward, I'm willing to vote behind that. I don't hear anything about this except for it's bad timing now, or it doesn't really matter now. There's no time commitment. There's nothing that makes me think if I was an ambitious attorney in Southern California, I wouldn't take action against this if I heard they were backing out, because you haven't guaranteed you're going to do this now. You haven't set it on the ballot. You haven't told me there's a deadline. You haven't showed progress. So this is going to be more confusing to people that have been following this.
Actually, we're exempt right now from another lawsuit with the action we've taken. The
same suit.
The same suit.
Exists.
We're exempt from that suit. For
how long?
Well, we're exempt until if something were to happen in the 2020 census that somehow changed conditions such that we'd have to look at it. I think is
that the new information then that I think that we received? I feel like that's what we were arguing about 2 months ago.
The California Voting Rights Act only applies to at-large elections. So once you have transitioned to district elections, Councilmember Mueller is correct that that carries immunity, and so you don't have to worry about a California Voting Rights Act challenge.
My point is, what's new about the information we're hearing now that we didn't hear 6 to 8 weeks ago?
Okay, so and I think it's probably important to distinguish between an emergency motion that requires these two findings in order to hear it this evening as a non-agendized item versus a motion for reconsideration where perhaps council members are reconsidering in their mind their vote. And so in terms of a motion for reconsideration, you don't have to find emergency findings, you just are rethinking your vote, and that's entirely appropriate. The motion in front of you right now is should it be heard on an emergency basis as a non-agendized item tonight. And even if you do decide to hear it, you might want to have additional outreach and have a separate meeting to actually discuss the substantive matters of the reconsideration. It's just under your rules, a motion for reconsideration does need to be heard the meeting following the motion that you're trying to reconsider, and that was at the last meeting. So procedurally, I imagine that's why this motion
July
is being
19th.
brought up. Yes. June 19th.
June 19th, that's right. Okay. Councilmember Keith?
Thank you. I've talked to many people now about this as well, and I think I've heard confusion about the fact that people don't realize that they're not going to be able to vote this time. But I think just a couple of questions about why. I think the reason that we were looking at putting this on is not to go around the California Voting Rights Act, but it was to give more options. Is that right, Cara?
Yes, I think that's that is one of the reasons that the majority did decide to put this on, is to become a charter city that would then open the door to other voting methods other than district elections.
And what that meant, I mean, I remember going to lots of meetings with several people who are here in Bellhaven, for example, where Steve Chesson spoke about ranked choice voting. Can you go to ranked choice voting without having a charter?
Yes, currently general law cities are prevented from implementing ranked choice voting.
Okay, so you have to be a charter city to even consider something like ranked choice voting for every district, obviously.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so it's interesting because this all is moving quickly, and there were a lot of meetings that several of us went to where Steve Chesson spoke about this, and some other speakers came and talked about different ways of voting within the whole city. So if you don't have a charter, you can't do that. That's one thing. And the charter that we were looking at, part of me thinks, you should go forward because then you can see if people even are interested. But if people don't feel like they have enough time to even understand what a charter is, maybe it's not good timing. Or do you go forward and you put very limited things on? I think we had term limits in elections. And then that allows people, I guess, in 2020 to decide if they want to have ranked choice voting. Or can you, for example, that's an example I'm asking you, Cara.
So if you put the charter on in now or in 2020?
Now.
So if you put the charter in now and passes, then Menlo Park becomes a charter city, and then it would be possible to pursue other voting methods. Those can be done by, in a variety of ways. One mechanism for implementing those other methods would be to have a vote of the people. Another method would be the council could implement another voting method.
But if you want to, I'm just curious on the ranked choice voting example I want to ask you about. If this was on the ballot this time, could you have ranked choice voting in 2020?
Would there be enough time to implement ranked choice voting by 2020, is your question?
If people wanted that, for example, yes.
Right. I would say it would be very difficult to make a major change like that in that time frame. Theoretically, it could be possible.
And I'm not saying...
Can I clarify something?
Sure,
because
yeah.
Cara is being a great attorney and trying to give us latitude, and I appreciate it, but I really want the council to understand. Because we went over this with Bill last time I went with you. California Voting Rights Act, even if you become a charter city, you're not excluded from the California Voting Rights Act. So all of that analysis that we did when we were going through district elections on whether or not we could do ranked choice voting, all of that's still going to apply to us even if we become a charter city. The only thing that will change that condition will be the 2020 census. In the 2020 census, if we look at the demographics of the city, and because of those changed demographics now, we can move to ranked choice voting, which was what we were talking about then. then we'll be able to do it. But if we become a charter city now, and the demographics all are the way they are now, and a council between now and then decides that they're going to move to ranked choice voting, based on the analysis we did prior, we will be prone to lawsuit because Charter City doesn't exempt you from the California Voting Rights Act, which is based, and Bill said that at the last meeting. And that's the reason why when staff looks at this, and Rich, to your point, if we wait to do this in 2020 and become a charter city then, we will have a robust process which educates the public on all of these issues, and then they can decide whether or not they want to look at not only elections and all of these other issues, but we can also have a discussion as a council when that 2020 census comes in of whether or not we put ranked choice voting before the city or we put district elections and all those things. If we do it now, to Councilmember Carlton's point, we're basically putting an item we're basically doing a lot of work with staff to put an item in front of the electorate to vote on that they may not understand for a purpose that can't be fulfilled anyway until 2020. That's the issue.
So it's, I was asking the mayor, essentially what we're doing is, what I was saying was we have the 2020 census, we should probably wait till the 2020 census. The other package that I have here that I really want to ask the council is, have we put so much out now and people have pulled papers and designated themselves looking at the assumption of districts that we are now pulling the rug out from underneath an election because it's now changed. And they're not a district anymore. It's a general, because if we pull this, it's going back. What does that do to...
I don't think if we reconsider this does not, we have already adopted that the November election will be by district, and that is
okay. There's no change to that.
This does not
We're
affect
reconsidering
that. The question,
one piece
exactly.
only.
It's only whether we do the
Okay. Well, I'll go back to what I was saying before. I'm fine doing 2020 on the charter alone, but you know, I also want an informed community. So this was the point I think I was from the beginning. Why are we rushing this when we know that we have a census that could change a number of factors? I understand the argument for doing it, so I backed down and went with it, but the argument still stands for me. So I just didn't know if there's new information.
Okay, so one thing I wanted to mention, I think Judy has let me know that there is a public speaker, someone from the public who'd like to speak on this, and I'd like to, I'm waiting for my screen to switch over, but to have that, whoops, didn't come up. To have that speaker come up, it's not appearing on my screen. Judy, can you tell me who Pamela. Okay, come on up, Pamela. Thank you. Should have guessed that. Welcome.
Good evening again, and I want to deeply appreciate this being brought up, so I want to commend Councilperson Carlton for bringing this discussion up, and it's so timely. I appreciate the comments you're making, the questions that you're asking, because those are the concerns that I had stated previously. A little piece that I'd like to add is that yes, you could do this now, and you could come up with some kind of ranked choice voting for 2020, but you would have to rescind your ordinance that established by district, because you're required by your ordinance to have by district elections for the other two districts in 2020. In 2021, when the census is released, it will February 2021, you will then be required to do redistricting. So if you go to the California redistricting project, it tells you all about what you have to do there, because we know the demographics are going to change. We know the population is going to change. So what we have today for this election in November 2018 is going to look different than it is in 2020. It's at that point, have the committee. It can be appointed by the council. And it will be a new council. No matter what happens in November, we're going to have a new council. We're going to have a new way of thinking. By having that committee, that's made up of residents, and we know that the residents here are deeply engaged, we will come up with the type of charter that's appropriate for the city of Menlo Park. If we look at it now, and you think in terms of, we could keep the 5 districts, we could go to ranked choice voting in each district, you've got to have the numbers. If you could try to do something like they did in the city of Santa Clara, which was to have 2 districts, 3 members from each district, ranked choice voting in each district, and a mayor at large, the residents voted that down, and also the judge said it didn't meet the requirements of the Voting Rights Act violation, which they were found in violation of, which they spent a ton of money trying to fight it, and they may still try and fight it. So I just look to your wisdom. I'm just seeing a lot of wisdom that's happening here, and that's why I'm devoted to this city and doing the work that I do as a concerned resident. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pamela. Councilmember Keith, did you have any other
We have
comments?
one more public comment.
Oh, one more,
It'll
okay.
be Jen
Great,
Willison.
Thank you. Who is the next speaker? It's not coming. Oh, Jen Willison. There she is. Welcome.
Hi, good evening, Council. I'm grateful that this is being reconsidered. I feel like the charter issue kind of came about. There were some citizens, residents who are working with Steve Chesson and some other groups to explore different voting methods, and we all got kind of excited about everything and started talking about it and engaging, and we came to you. However, those residents that were excited about it are not excited about this charter at this time. And I know for a measure to pass, you need the public support, and I just don't see it being there. So I would encourage you to reconsider this strongly. Thank you at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Jen, appreciate it. Councilmember Keith, I guess I'll just make my comment, and I think I'm willing to support the reconsideration. And for me, it's a couple of new things, and quite frankly, I hadn't even thought about it really until this afternoon when you notified me. But there were a couple things, certainly Santa, as was just mentioned, the Santa Clara Measure A failed, which was trying to do ranked choice voting. A lot of as my understanding, a lot of folks there just felt ranked choice was complicated, and was suspicious about it. So, and then the second issue is, as we're still trying to kind of feel our way through this, and that's probably not a good thing. Anyway, so I will support the reconsideration, but now the question will become, when do we reconsider it? Are we going to reconsider it tonight, or do we have to come up with a special meeting to reconsider it, recognizing that we may not have all 5 of us? So I wanted to at least mention that to my fellow council members about when is the time for us to reconsider it, whether we do it tonight. It's got to be done before Friday, obviously. Am I hearing that correct?
So actually, you have until August 15th, which takes you to Tuesday, I believe. But nonetheless, the meeting needs to be very soon.
Okay. Fair enough. Any other questions or comments about?
Yeah.
I just see a couple lights on, so I want to make sure that.
Yeah. Thank you. No, thanks, Cara. I hear people, and I think I'm probably leaning towards not doing this, but I want to understand a couple of things too. With if you have in the future, let's say we have a committee on this. And you can look at all sorts of different methods for voting within districts. Is that right? And I'm not just ranked choice, but other options as well that have been brought up.
Yeah, sure. You can always do that. And you could also look at getting rid of districts and having ranked choice citywide, or you could have ranked choice in one district.
My understanding is you can't look at getting rid of them because for the California Voting Rights Act, you have to have them. Is that not right?
No, that's not quite correct. If you have districts, it gives you immunity.
It gives you immunity.
From the California Voting Rights Act. You could still structure a voting method that could theoretically comply with the Voting Rights Act, but it would be difficult. We'd have to, do some more analysis on whether ranked choice citywide, for instance, would comply with the Voting Rights Act. Whether it would, give minority candidates the ability to get elected in the city.
I would agree that I think that this is complicated and that it needs, we had these interesting discussions earlier on about all sorts of different voting ideas. I think looking at a charter is a good idea, perhaps, but I would agree with Councilmember Carlton. There's probably just a little bit too much going on right now to do this. And the funny thing is, if people want to move to a charter, I would think there are two ways to go about it later. You're either going to look at going to a charter and having very limited things on it to see if people are even interested in doing it, or you're going to have an advisory group that comes together to come up with lots of things to put on the ballot to discuss it. And I'm fine with putting it over to let to get through, try our district elections, and then if people want to have a charter in the future, bring it forward again. And have more time to invest and look into it.
Okay. So with that, I think we should take the vote on reconsideration and then decide when we're going to reconsider it. As I'm just procedurally trying to make sure. So let's vote on Councilmember Carlton's motion, emergency motion, to reconsider the charter ballot measure. And Councilmember Carlton, what is your vote?
Well, since I made the motion, that would be yes.
Just try to make sure. Great.
Just confirming, I understand.
The motion passes unanimously.
Okay. So now the question becomes when we should agendize this. I think it would be... So I don't... Yes, Catherine.
Can you hear me?
Councilmember Carlton, hello?
Yeah, I was just letting you know, my stepfather just died, and so I have to go to Texas for his funeral. So I'm just letting you know I won't be able to be back in town until the 12th.
And certainly may I express to you our condolences, and certainly our thoughts and prayers are with you and your family, and we do understand, and so it might make sense for us to have the special meeting early next week. Maybe it's either Monday or Tuesday night. I recognize Wednesday's the 15th, but also sort of getting a gist of where we are. I do think we need a gap. I do think we need a few days just to make sure if there's any passionate folks out there that say, no, we got to do, don't gotta let it go, that they've got due notice and chance to be able to persuade us. But may I recommend that perhaps either Monday or Tuesday night might make sense for us to do a very short special council meeting on this reconsideration on this item. And what I'd like to suggest is that we could do that scheduling offline than necessarily trying to look at our calendars.
If I can, because offline sometimes takes more time than it's worth, since you're all sitting right here in front of me and there's witnesses to this. Monday night, I can't look it up quick enough. You have a planning commission meeting, right? That's what I thought. So Monday night, the chambers are busy, but if you started the meeting, say, at 5:30, if your intent is really to keep it relatively brief, if we could do Monday night, that could work. Tuesday night, I'm just trying to check the schedule to see if there are other commission meetings occurring, and I'm sorry, I just can't get into my computer quick enough to find that out. But if everyone's available Monday night at, say, 5:30, does that work for everyone? We would have to be out of here by 7 when the planning commission starts its meeting.
That's fine with me. Yes, okay, so I see thumbs up.
And Kat, is that okay with you? I'll take that as a yes. Okay.
Okay.
Councilmember Carlton, can you hear us?
Yeah, sorry, for some reason my phone just keeps dropping. I'm available Monday, that's fine.
Okay.
So we'll
great.
plan Monday night 5:30. If something changes, I'll let you all know. But
5:30.
okay.
All right. Okay, thank you, everyone. I know that's emergency motions are obviously unusual, so thanks for bearing with me here. All right, let's get back to regular business. Item H2, adopt resolution number 6454 to amend the city salary schedule. We have Administrative Services Director Lenka Diaz. Welcome. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Honorable Mayor and City Council members, the item before you tonight is to address challenges that we're facing as we attempt to fill our unrepresented management vacancies. As you know, it's been an extremely competitive job market lately. Unfortunately, we're finding that the talent that we're trying to attract and hire are not in our candidate pools. And unique, especially to this area, is the additional challenges of the housing costs, and for those who can't afford housing, the commute and traffic into town. So we're not unique to this. The agencies across the peninsula in Silicon Valley are facing similar challenges. And so we are all trying to come up with creative ways of addressing these challenges to make sure we can hire the talent that we need. So with this, flexibility is key. And so one of the ideas that we've come up with in response to the most recent recruitments that we've had is to add some additional titles to our salary schedule. So we are not asking the council to add any positions. We are simply trying to find ways to attract the talent that we're trying to hire. So for example, we recently had a recruitment for a housing and economic development manager. We found in that pool that while we were looking to find someone with those broad skills that could address both of those areas, we found that most candidates were weak in one area or the other. And we heard from our executive recruiter that having both of those disciplines combined, that we potentially prevented some of the talent in the housing area, which I know is a very high priority for us, from applying because it wasn't specialized in housing. So in order to give us with the flexibility before we go out and recruit again, it will allow us to take a look at the vacancies we do have, decide if housing and economic development manager isn't going to be a viable recruitment for us. That maybe we go out and look for a housing manager and use another vacancy to pick up the economic development area. Or we could, in turn, look for an economic development manager and use other resources for the housing. So it's really just to give us some flexibility. We are only looking to fill the one position that was vacated by Jim Cogan, and that's just an example. Another area, as you recognize Nikki Nagaya tonight, when she leaves, we will have an assistant public works director position opening. Her focus was in the transportation area. So looking to fill that transportation role, we may need to go out and not necessarily look for an assistant director, but perhaps a transportation director or manager to make sure we bring those skills in. So what you have is a redlined salary schedule as an attachment to show you which titles we are recommending in adding. The salaries that have been listed with those titles do mirror the positions that are at the same level already included in the salary schedule. So for example, you'll see the assistant director positions all have the same maximum salary level that can be earned for each of those positions. And same thing with the manager positions as well. I do want to point out that there was a typo that was corrected with an amended agenda that went out today, and that was on the third page of the salary schedule, the under transportation director. And instead of having transportation manager, we inadvertently put library services manager in that line. So we've amended that and corrected that to show as transportation manager. Any questions for me?
So I just simply want to reiterate a couple of things that you said and are in the staff report. So this action tonight, this revised salary schedule, does not result in any additional staff. It's the same count as previous.
That's correct.
Okay. And also, we are not changing the dollar amounts in the salary schedule at all. There are no raises that are taking place by this action. This is the same rate, the same ranges as were in the previous table, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So what simply we're doing is taking action on the job titles to provide more flexibility in hiring candidates, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. Any Vice Mayor Mueller?
I appreciate the intent. I'm trying to, is there any other jurisdiction that does it this way? Where they actually add like a different column in the salary schedule as opposed to, because this is standard practice to do it this way?
Are you referring to the way the salaries are listed or adding the titles?
Adding the titles.
So we're actually unique in the fact that we don't have a lot of titles on the salary schedule that are inactive. Typically, you'll see salary schedules at other agencies that already have listings of positions they used to have and were vacated, and they might have filled it with a different title. And rather than taking that old title off of the salary schedule, they would leave it on just in case it would be used in the future. It looks like what we've been doing is as positions were vacated and became inactive, we dropped them from the salary schedule rather than leaving them on.
But that's the way you just expressed it is a little bit of my concern, is that they've left them on in case they want to fill them later. And so I can hear the critique coming that if we leave them on over time, they'll be viewed not as a position that had a change in title, but a position that was left vacant to be refilled at some future date. So we're actually adding headcount now. We're just not filling those positions until later.
So the action we're asking you to take tonight does not propose a different headcount. That would be something you would have to approve.
No, I understand that, but my concern around it is that the standard practice of other jurisdictions, which you just said, and that was actually what I remembered from my time period in other public agencies, is that you do leave it in there, but you leave it vacant because you're not filling it now for budgetary reasons. But later, when budgetary reasons pop up, it's like there's a space here to add someone, as opposed to a flexible title where you would have assistant community development director and then potentially a slash and then a different title there to show that it's just one job, but there could be different titles applied to it. So that's why I was asking, is it for what we're trying to accomplish from a policy position tonight, where we're not trying to obtain headcount, but rather trying to just make flexible title? Is there another way that can be accomplished? Have you seen?
I have not seen that before. I know one of the reasons we bring this to you for adoption each time there is a change is CalPERS requires that each position is listed with the salary so that when someone retires, they match up the
Right.
council adopted schedule for the position with the numbers.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Councilmember Carlton, do you have any question?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Key.
Thanks. Thank you for your presentation. And I think, it is important that we all understand that we're having a hard time recruiting. Unemployment is very low. I'm going to just reiterate one thing, or just maybe help myself understand. What you just said is that when we leave these titles on, that it's not giving any authority to hire more headcount. Is that right?
That's correct.
And if the city manager, for example, wanted to hire more than what the headcount currently is, he currently does not have that authority. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, is there I don't see any more lights or requests. Can I entertain a motion to adopt the resolution? If not, I'll make the motion to adopt resolution number 6454 to amend the city salary schedule. Is there a second? Okay. So does that mean the motion fails and the resolution fails? Do we have any second on this?
I'll second so that we can take a vote.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Carlton. Let me just see if there are any final discussion or questions. All right, I don't see any. I'm going to ask that we now vote. Councilmember Carlton, what is your vote on the motion to adopt the resolution?
I'll vote in favor.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I'll vote in favor.
In favor, yes. Okay.
The motion passes 3-1 with Councilmember Keith dissenting and Councilmember Mueller abstaining.
All right. Next item is H3, appoint a city council ad hoc subcommittee to work with the Chamber of Commerce regarding downtown beautification, business incentives, and homeless issues. There's no staff presentation, but Assistant City Attorney Kara Silver and City Clerk Judy Herron are available for questions. So I guess I'll just start out that I had just a question that normally the mayor and the vice mayor are the council's designees to attend the Chamber of Commerce's monthly board meetings, and which we do. And I wanted to make sure that the question that I had is, if we were to appoint a subcommittee that is different than the mayor and vice mayor, the question now becomes, to comply with the Brown Act, I assume that means we have to be very careful about delineating, the different functions of either the subcommittee versus the representatives to the board, so that we don't inadvertently violate the Brown Act. Is that correct?
Yeah, that would be correct. It would require a bit of threading the needle, being very, very careful.
Okay. That's certainly. I did want to mention that we do have a speaker on the topic, Fran Dean. Thank you for.
Thank you, and good evening, Fran Dean, Chamber of Commerce. First, I'd like to congratulate you and thank you in the budget process for understanding that we do need to invest in the downtown. One of those things was to...
Fran, can you move the microphone?
Sorry. One of those things was to increase power washing of sidewalks and streets. Wonderful. And then the other, which I called the surprise, was the ability to potentially look at a downtown subcommittee or some aggregation of people working with the Chamber of Commerce to look at ideas and proposals for beautification, also to help us with transient population issues, to help us through what I would consider some sanitation issues downtown. I believe that at that meeting, there was a proposal or an idea about a subcommittee being formed, and that subcommittee would, of course, include 2 members of the council. I appreciate anything that you do for the downtown, absolutely appreciate it, as do the business owners. But I would caution you that possibly having a more nimble arrangement than a Brown Act group might facilitate doing things more easily, not necessarily more comfortably. No matter what is proposed, it will come before you as council members for approval. And if there is this ad hoc subcommittee, again, if that's the way you choose to do it, I'm fine with it. But if there is this subcommittee, this ad hoc subcommittee, it could encumber us in our board meetings, and we do invite people to come into the board meetings, and we do have an appointed liaison, the mayor and the the vice mayor. Just vice. I do invite you to come in, and we want your participation, and we want you to share with us. But we also want to do it in such a way that we're not precluding what could be a more nimble process. Again, I appreciate whatever you decide, but a Brown Act committee does present some issues. Again, anything decided comes to you as a council for all of you to evaluate, but a Brown Act committee puts an extra step in it. So thank you very much, and I look forward to your discussion.
Thank you, Fran. Vice Mayor Mueller.
Yeah, I was just going to say, on this issue, I think the idea that we appoint an ad hoc subcommittee for such a large area of subject matter is something that we don't typically do, and we already have 2 people interacting with an entity. If we, like I said at the last time we discussed this, if we want to appoint an ad hoc subcommittee to look, for instance, at the homeless issue and how we go ahead and we deal with dealing with, frankly, bathrooms for them or something like that, it's a very defined scope. But to open it up to basically everything that the chamber touches, I think is redundant. And I don't know how we get around from creating a Brown Act, making it a Brown Act committee, because there's 2 people. It's a Brown Act committee. It applies. And we already have 2 people talking with the chamber. So those are my comments on it.
Okay. Councilmember Keith.
Thank you. Thanks, Fran, for speaking tonight. Appreciate that. And I brought this up just because I think it is important that we deal with the issues downtown. So I'm really glad that we're talking about them with you. And I also agree, after many conversations with people, that I think having you as the chamber work with your board and with our business owners downtown and coming forward with some sort of ideas that you think would be best after working with them and bringing it back to the council is a great idea. And I appreciate that. And I also would like to say that I think that we should have a study session here on the homelessness issue, because it is something that's coming up frequently now. I'm getting many emails from our business owners downtown, and I'm having a lot of one-off conversations. So I would like to propose that we have a study session on the issue and bring in from the county the people who are working on this, and also to invite Samaritan House to come. And actually, Alex, could you just talk a little bit about Samaritan House and what they're doing now?
Sure. Samaritan House came into the city, came to visit us, I guess, a week or two ago with the police chief, the community services director, and myself to talk about the services they provide. They've stepped in for an entity that had been in East Palo Alto, and I'm going to fail to remember the name of the entity. So Samaritan House is the new kind of last chance or first chance place where we can refer those who are facing homelessness type issues and the services that they can then turn around and point to, whether it's the county, state, or locally. So I think Samaritan House would be a good group for the council to introduce themselves to. You all probably remember Bart Charlo from
Peninsula Volunteers.
Peninsula Volunteers. He is now the executive director of Samaritan House. So he would be very excited about coming and making a presentation to the council. I think the interesting challenge here really has to do with what we can do as a city and as a community versus all the other agencies that are out there and all the services that are out there, and trying to help make them available, make people aware that they are available. The hard part is you can't force people to take a service. So, it's something we can certainly do. Bart has expressed interest in coming to introduce himself or reintroduce himself to the council once again and introduce Samaritan House and its services. So.
And then we could also invite the homeless outreach team from the county to come and talk
Correct.
about the services.
Correct.
But it would just be nice to have a conversation with everybody that's open to the public, Brown acted, and then we could probably get more done than having a lot of these one-off conversations that are happening. So I am supportive of having Fran come forward with something with the board and the chamber, and then we can look at that and start figuring out how to work with this issue.
Councilmember Carlton, did you have any comment? Catherine, you may be on mute. Okay, I'll pass along that. So what I sense is that we do not need to appoint an ad hoc subcommittee that will continue with the council liaisons to the chamber board, but I also do concur that
Kat, are you able to hear us?
So, Councilmember Carlton, can you hear us? All right. So, but I do sense that we've got some momentum here around encouraging the chamber to come back to us with their recommendations, and as part of a program regarding the downtown and beautification issues in general. Secondly, I also concur with Councilmember Keith about the idea of having a study session to discuss homelessness specifically. And I think that's a very good issue. The challenge, of course, is finding time on our agenda, but certainly I think that would be a good idea, particularly to inform us on some of the different organizations that are working in this space. And Councilmember Klein.
Yeah, Alex, do we have is there anything written about our chamber representation? I know it says, I think, mayor, but does it specifically state there's a rotation so that we have constant refresh and not the same members consistently overseeing the same parts of
Right.
duties?
So my understanding, and so I'm going to answer the question two ways. Our working history has been the mayor has rotated in as the liaison, and that's typical. The vice mayor steps in as well.
Right.
Since I've been here, that's how we've done it. Is that written down somewhere? To be honest with you, I'm not positive if it's written down. It's more of a past practice. It's a good practice, probably.
And if we have two members in a chamber meeting and another council member wants to drop in, it doesn't necessarily constitute a Brown Act violation unless, of course, they're talking about issues that'll go to the.
I think generally speaking, that's a true statement, right?
Right?
Yes, that's correct.
I mean, but there's a lot of issues that could potentially float up, so it creates complications. That's the hard part about it. That's why we had a mayor, because it didn't have that problem if we had drop-in council members. You didn't have immediately 3 and a Brown Act violation. So that's something we just need to consider, right? It precludes anybody else from attending.
Most of the issues that the chamber talks about are local issues, which would likely come before this body.
That's
so
right.
It is problematic.
I mean, I think there should be mayor and vice mayor. I'm not sure they should both be attending at the same time unless, it's scheduled, we know it, so people know they can't go to certain meetings and things like that. And for this, I think we should there's a lot of issues that come down to, I think it's been covered that the mayor's on the chamber, and so it kind of feels like we could have had this discussion in a meeting with the city manager and not had it in a council meeting, to be honest with you.
Okay. Vice Mayor Mueller?
Oh, no, it's fine. We can move on.
Okay, so I think we're done with this item. And H3, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Informational items, there are 7 information items, no staff presentations. If there are any questions from my fellow council members on any of the information items? Okay, I see none. City manager's report? No. Right. Oh, we may have a public speaker?
Yes, for info item I3.
I3, okay, Pamela Jones.
Good evening again, and thank you for your patience. In regards to the Connect Menlo General Plan report, I'm hoping that you will agendize this so that we can have a discussion, particularly with residents. I think the problem that we're seeing now is a result of the massive amount of buildings without any structural plans. So the challenges that are to the neighborhoods most deeply affected are things that were not part of the original plan. I personally would like to see the storyboards here so that we know exactly what we're talking about anytime any new projects come up. Because the planning department has them, because I've seen them at Facebook. They should be here every time we talk about this. Until we really have some kind of structure in place so that the community is not so deeply affected, I think that it's time that we consider a moratorium on any new building. And not try and change zoning just to satisfy that one particular project. Now, remember, I am one of the few people that probably said, I love the concept of the Facebook Village, because I'm looking at how are we going to configure our cities for the future. What we're doing now is not working, okay, because people 50 years ago weren't looking at today. As I keep saying here, I've got great-grandchildren, so I'm looking 50 years into the future. We cannot afford to continue doing what we're doing here in the city of Menlo Park. So I would ask that we stop. Agendize the Connect Menlo General Plan. Convey it in such a way that it's the residents talking about it. Let all of these developers, let them do a presentation to us. What do you have coming down the line? That's a significant piece that was missed when we were doing all of the meetings. And I attended almost all of them, even though I was still working at the time. And I was really clear that part of the stakeholders were the developers. They're helping to make policy that's going to benefit them. And because there was more of them, and because we wanted the money they would bring into the city, oftentimes what the residents brought up were not considered. We have a plan, the Bellhaven Action Plan, that we know the amenities we want in the community. We don't even have an opportunity to engage with the developers because that's done by city staff. So I would suggest that this would be an opportune time to allow the residents to, again, have that discussion. Let us hear what they are planning to do instead of blinking our eyes and there's another building popping up over in the M2. Anyway, again, thank you, and thank you for your indulgence.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Pamela. And I do think that's an interesting idea. Maybe time at some point. Or at least to have a status session or some sort of study session or something that makes it perhaps more visible so I think that's something we can talk a little bit offline. I also, annually we have one of our council meetings at the senior center. And that's something also that might be a good thing for, anyway, Alex will talk offline about trying to schedule that. All right, any other questions or comments on information items? Okay, so we do have, under council member reports, we have one item which is to confirm the voting delegate for the League of Cities, California Cities Annual Conference, which is in mid-September. Our action is to select a voting delegate for the conference, and I want it, I think it's like September 12th, 13th, and 14th, if I remember off the top of my head. Any council members planning to go during those couple of days? All right.
I'll be there.
Councilmember Carlton, are you planning to attend?
Yes.
Okay, great. And I was thinking of going, but maybe not. But I was probably going to go down that Thursday, not for the 14th, which is the actual business meeting. So are there any other council members that are planning to go? Okay, with that, so I would like to...
I'm probably going to be there too.
Pardon, you might be there too?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So, so I think it would be a good idea to designate council members Carlton and Keith, and we'll figure this out. I think there's some form, correct, that we fill out to.
Yeah, I think you need one person has to be designated, and then
okay.
Right.
Got
It would be Councilmember Keith or Councilmember Carlton.
It's fine for Kat to do it. That's fine.
Okay, so why don't we designate Councilmember Carlton as the voting delegate? I do think there's a space in there for an alternate, and I'd like to make sure that Councilmember Keith is the alternate, just if plans change at the last second. And as I mentioned, I'm not planning to be there for that voting, for that one part of it. All right, any other council member reports?
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Mueller.
So I have 2 items, and I emailed you one earlier today, but I should share with the council. Oh, actually 3 items. So I met with Supervisor Horsley and Supervisor Slocum last week, and Supervisor Horsley presented a really innovative idea with respect to affordable housing. He had, with respect to our affordable housing fund, we have quite a bit of money that sits in it that stays stagnant for long periods of time, and he's suggested a partnership with the county, investigating a partnership with the county whereby we could loan the county from that fund, and then so they could put it to work in funding starts on a 3 to 5 year period with interest that they would repay us. But it would allow cash flow, make more cash flow available to the county and their work with HART in order to get projects started regionally. So I've forwarded that to you and the mayor, to you and Alex today to investigate the feasibility around that with the county. But I think it's a great idea because that money just sits there until projects come forward. A housing commissioner contacted me today because I copied them on the email, and they said, well, what happens if it's in Menlo Park and we want it? And I said, well, then they can lend the money to us. if it's a cash flow issue that they have it. But regardless, I think we can work that out. But there's some legal issues around that certainly need to be investigated. Second issue is surrounding annexation of the Santa Cruz Triangle, and then also the other area in Menlo Park, which is escaping me. Menlo Oaks. Yeah. Supervisor Horsley is completely open, and Slocum are open to discussing that process and creating a formula with city staff and county officials to go ahead. What they want, what we discussed, is a repeatable formula that can be done over and over again, because there are certainly other areas of the city that they're interested in whether or not they would annex, but they would support trying to put together that formula. They don't initially, Supervisor Horsley has indicated, let's just start with those two areas first, looking at those two areas, because the county's about to make invest a lot of money improvements in Alameda de Las Pulgas. So let's get that done before we start adding on to that. But very interested in creating that. The county's very interested in supporting that process and working out that funding formula for us for annexation. And then the third item is...
And by the way, there's a subcommittee, correct?
Councilmember Carlton is on that subcommittee with me as well,
okay,
yes.
Great.
And then the third item is on, and unfortunately she wasn't, that the topic came up while we were at lunch, so she wasn't with me at the time, but we can certainly have her there discussing the formula. But right now I think staff needs to sit down and iron that out and then bring that to us before we bring it back to you. And then the third item is really something that was brought up today, and that's can we agendize a discussion about those stop signs for the Willows? Because they did bring that petition forward and ask us to do that, and I think we should probably sit down and at least talk with them about it. So if there's a time that we could set that a future meeting, that would be appreciated. And that's all.
Okay. Councilmember Keith.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. First of all, on the Willow stop sign, I think that is a great idea. I've been meeting with many of the residents and emailing with them, and Nikki has as well. And I want to, I know she's gone, but a big shout out to Nikki for being really responsive and writing emails on updates about the Central and Elm and Walnut. And I think it would be important, I sent an email actually today to a couple of the residents who had emailed me about meeting with Nikki and looking at what the plans are for improvements right now. So I think that's great. And then I wanted to announce that the city is having a library tour of the Hayward Library, and that's going to be, August 15th, Wednesday, August 15th, from 3:30. We'll be leaving here on the campus. There'll be a city bus that will take anybody who wants to come. Please come and tour the Hayward Library. And Hayward is building an amazing library and learning center. And it's a 21st century building. They are doing this in an eco-friendly manner. They're saving hundreds of gallons of water annually. And anybody is invited to come and see what it looks like to build a new 21st century learning center. So that'll be here. And unfortunately, they can only do it during the work day because we'll have to have the director of the building that's going on at the library will have to be present. The library is not open to the public yet. So this is kind of getting a view of what's happening and what they're proposing. And then I also wanted to announce that on the 14th, which is the evening before, we'll be having a meeting here in this chambers. And we've invited people from the Hayward Library to come and talk about it so that for people who can't come to the tour, you can come here to City Hall. And we will have Sean Reinhart, Carrie McAllister, Murad Fakhri, all present to talk about what they're doing in Hayward and how their process and what they looked at and what a new library looks like. And they're really excited. And if people still can't see that, you can certainly Google the Hayward Library and see what it is that they're doing. It's very exciting stuff. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Keith. Because of the lateness of the evening, I'm not going to give a full report on the trip to our friendship city in Japan, Bizen. But I'll simply say for the 3 days that I was there, it was certainly a great trip. Appreciate the hospitality of the Bizen community and 10 Menlo Park teenagers and some chaperones, and Clay Curtin, I think, also joined us. Were there. It was really a great trip. I'm sure, I think he took over 1,000 pictures, so we'll try and distill that down. But there's a lot of great history there in Bizen. I think what was most important is I think the teenagers had a really good experience, and what I hope to report back is maybe we'll do a quick presentation where you
We're
can hear
actually,
from the
Clay
teenagers.
Curtin is working with some of the teens to see if the teens can come and make the presentation in cooperation with Clay and perhaps you, Mr. Mayor, just to share their stories and their experience.
Great. Wonderful. Okay, and then I think that's it. We have Wednesday Music in the Park this week in Fremont Park, and then it moves to Kelly Park for 3 more Wednesdays. Right. I also wanted to make sure tomorrow night is National Night Out. There are several events, 7 events, thank you, Alex, 7 National Night Out events around Menlo Park tomorrow night, so certainly encourage everyone to attend. And with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting in honor of and in respect to victims in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This was the 64th anniversary actually today, so certainly wanted to acknowledge that. And with that, we will adjourn to our special meeting on Monday night. All right. Thank you, everyone. Good